And we're live. 8:30 in the morning, deadline stream. Hope we haven't got too many sore heads in the viewership today. I'll wait for a few people if we get some to join, and then I'll just go through all the info I've got. Lots to go through this week. There's so much happening mid game week. Well, in the build up to 23. All the doubles, the blanks, some news about players. Some news about players, predicted lineups, etc., etc. All going to go through it all on the stream. Yeah, I feel like it's pretty early. Hope you all had a good week. Let me know in the chat what you got up to with your week. If it was just work, then fair enough. And yeah, let me know what you're up to this weekend. I'll wait for a couple more minutes, and then I'll go through all the shit I've got to show, basically. I need to remember, I don't know how crackdowny YouTube are on swearing either, but I swear quite a lot in my normal speech, so I think I need to be a bit careful on this stream. So yeah, tell me off if I swear. And of course, like we did last week, 2 secs. For any of those 50-50 decisions that you are not sure about, i.e. do you do Martinelli to Odegaard for a hit or something like that, I've got the Indonesian coin of truth once again, fit with Indonesian muck on it. Still haven't cleaned it. So yeah, this is around to help you make those 50-50 decisions on your transfers if you don't know what you're doing. I'll give it another minute and then I'll go through all the content I've got. Because, yeah, we've got plenty to go through. All the stats you need to know, blank double game weeks. I've managed to find all of the best predicted lineups for Arsenal and Man City. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find an Arsenal predicted lineup for the Man City game. No one's done that. It doesn't appear on Twitter, which is probably the one people want to see. So, unfortunately, I don't have that, but I've got all the rest. So we'll have a look through that. And obviously all the doubles and blanks, etc. And then my team, which I think I know mainly what I'm going to do with it. I've got a rough idea of the main transfer that I want to do. I just think the question is, do I want to take a hit to make any more? And I think probably other people are in that position too. I haven't taken a hit all season yet, so yeah. I think I'm going to get right into it. If you're around and watching, feel free to say hello in the chat. Don't be a stranger. So yeah, what I thought I'd start off things with is just going through all the expected, underlying expected points, clean sheet odds, etc., etc. So for this week, top in the list, we've got Haaland. His expected points are 14.7. That's higher, in fact, than Rashford had last week. I think Rashford was on 11 point something. So yeah, I think... And I can't remember the guy's name now. I think it was Chris on the stream last week. I don't know if I successfully talked him out of it because I feel guilty talking people out of things they seem set on. But he removed his triple captaincy from Rashford last week to use it on Haaland this week. And given the underlying numbers, and I think obviously Man City not looking amazing, but I do think they need to win all these games that they're playing to stand a chance of winning the title. So for me, they're absolutely going to have to go for it. De Bruyne is going to be trying to find Haaland with every single cross he gets. So I think Haaland can get amongst the goals this weekend. And I don't mind him at all as a triple captain shout. Obviously, he's got quite a lot to do to catch Rashford with his 2 goals, assist and bonus points. And obviously, the goals came from Rashford, who's a midfielder. So I think Haaland really needs to score 3 or 4 goals to match Rashford. But do you think that's out of the realms of possibility? I absolutely don't. I think Haaland could quite easily score a couple of goals this game week. Then you've got Mahrez, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Nketiah, KDB, Grealish, Zinchenko, White and Saliba. That's your lot for the expected points this week. I like Mahrez. I'm just not sure on his minutes. I'm not sure he's going to start both of the games. Which slightly puts me off him. Similar sort of vibe really with Martinelli. I do think Martinelli's going to start both of the games because Trossard has not lit the world up when he's come on for Arsenal yet. So I don't think Martinelli is going to be subbed for him. But I do think his minutes are going to be restricted. And this is one of the decisions, like many other players that I've got to make, is do I want to swap Martinelli for someone else for a hit? But for the time being, that's how the expected points is looking. Then next up, we've got the goal scoring and goal involvement odds. Again, you've just seen the expected points, so these figures are obviously not going to be too different from that. Haaland tops the list in terms of goal involvement percentage. He's got an 83% chance of scoring this game week. Alvarez in second. This statistic doesn't take into account expected minutes. So, yeah, Alvarez, I don't think he's going to start. So I'll probably ignore that one. Then we got Nketiah on 58, Saka on 52, Martinelli also on 52, Mahrez, Trossard, Kane, Foden, De Bruyne and Odegaard. Interestingly, Martinelli's right up there with Saka in terms of likelihood of scoring, which it's one of the reasons why I'm keeping him. I think I'm going to keep him in my team. Just because I think it feels like he's due, doesn't it, Martinelli? He's not returned in quite a few game weeks now, and he's still looking good, in my opinion. The reason behind it is that he's not linking up as well with Nketiah as he did with Jesus. I think Jesus just gets more involved in the build-up play, doesn't he? And that probably brings the wingers into the game a bit more. So yeah, just one to think about. But yep, like Martinelli this week. Haaland is top of the goal involvement odds. He's 88% to get involved in a goal this weekend. I don't think I've ever seen a player with that higher probability of being involved in a goal. So yeah, he's on 88%, which is just insane. Alvarez again, probably ignore because I don't think he's going to start. And then it's the same sort of names you'd expect to see. Interestingly, De Bruyne, who's probably going to be my transfer in just because of the nailedness and the expected minutes. He comes towards the bottom of the Man City mids for goal involvement percentage. Just one to consider. And then we got the clean sheet odds for all the teams. I think probably the left side are the sort of teams you could not back, but put a decent bet on keeping a clean sheet. Top of the list is, well, it's not top on this list, but top of the list in my opinion is Man City. They got a 55% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Villa, and then 29% against Arsenal. And then Arsenal, 50% against Brentford, and 27% against City. And then Newcastle, Liverpool, Fulham, Brighton, Chelsea, Wolves, Man United, Southampton are the teams above about 30%. I'd say if the team is below 30% in terms of clean sheet odds, you probably can't back them to keep one. And I'd probably agree with quite a lot of those odds I'm seeing there, to be honest. I'm a bit sceptical of United owning Luke Shaw, and I probably have to start Shaw as well. A bit sceptical about United's chances of keeping a clean sheet, but I think I'm just going to have to persist. Well, you'll see my team in a second, but that's the clean sheet odds. And then obviously this game week, couple of doubles. We got Arsenal against Brentford and Man City, and obviously Man City against Villa and Arsenal. So actually doubles this week. We all know what that is, pretty much. And obviously we've got the double that's been announced in 25 now. I'm taking this one with a bit of a pinch of salt, really, because none of these teams really excite. Obviously Arsenal excite me, right? But we've all got Arsenal players because they double this week, and they'll just be continually in our teams. Liverpool, not entirely sold on them. Those are two good fixtures, though, to be fair. Palace away and Wolves, good fixtures. Wolves and Everton, not really interested in those games, to be honest. I know Everton have had a bit of a resurgence under Dyche, but one of their doubles is against top of the league. And then with Wolves, they play Fulham, who are a really good team, really good going forwards. And the same with Liverpool. They could turn the screw at any time, in my opinion. And they're both away fixtures, so definitely not sold on Everton and Wolves. I think you're best off just picking the stronger, proven assets from the better teams. Whereas Liverpool, I'm a bit 50-50 on. My gut instinct told me when I first saw the double that Salah, you just have to buy him and make him captain this week. But thinking about it, you could quite happily captain Saka. I think Saka will likely be my captain in 25. And I may move towards a Darwin Núñez. But I don't think I'm going to completely break my team to bring in Liverpool players, just because they haven't looked at the races recently. Until we genuinely see an improvement in their football, which might happen. I think Diogo Jota, Arthur, I think that's how you say his name, are coming back into the team, so maybe that will change things for them. But I think Saka in 25 at the moment is where I'm leaning with captaincy. And Darwin Núñez, I just think he's impossible to ignore, so I'm leaning towards bringing him in. We can see we've got a couple in the chat. Hello, George and Brian. A couple of people thinking of changing their captaincy to Saka. It's an interesting one. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't mind it, but I just think Haaland's he's on course to break all the records, mate, and he's got a double game week. I just don't think you can not put the captaincy on Haaland. That's just my view. Maybe you can talk me out of it, but there's nothing, in my opinion, to suggest that Haaland is not the best captain this week. And then we've obviously got a few teams that blank in 25. Basically, it's Newcastle and Man United, the two teams in the Carabao Cup final. They're playing Brentford they were playing Brentford and Brighton, respectively. Those games aren't going to happen now, so these four teams blank. And I think quite a lot of people are going to have Man United, Newcastle and Brighton players in their team. And that's really what I'm looking to do with my transfers this week. I think if you can use your transfers to not only make your team better for this game week, but also better for the blank game week in 25, I think you're onto a winner. And for me, I think that's what I'm going to be doing with my transfers. The obvious other thing we've got to consider is that there's now a double game week in 27 where both Brentford and Brighton double. So I don't think I'd be rushing necessarily to sell my Brighton players just because you'd have to bring them back in 27. So if you've got a Matoma, I think it absolutely makes sense just to bench the guy for game week 25 and then play him for the rest of the season, basically, because he just seems to be on fire. In fact, if you were to tell me on double game week 27, ask me who the best captain is, I'm probably going to say genuinely it's likely to be Matoma. Like Leeds and Crystal Palace, really good fixtures for Brighton. I think they could do really well in that game. And against Leeds, I think Matoma's going to be up against Luke Ayling. With all respect to Luke Ayling, I'm nothing in comparison to him as a footballer, but I don't think he's very good. Not at the Premier League level. I just don't think he's there. So I think Matoma could have a field day against Ayling in that game. And then against Crystal Palace, who do they play at right back? Is it Nathaniel Klein or something like that? I think he could have an absolute field day against those two teams. Likewise, Brentford, I think 2 away games makes it a bit less attractive. But obviously they've got Ivan Toney. So if you brought in Toney for double game week 27, he doesn't have a ban. I think he's on 8 yellow cards as the only sort of distraction from that. But Toney, captain in 27, also looks really good. I'm not too interested in Palace and in Southampton just because they've got one really tough game out of the two, and I don't think it makes it worth it to bring those assets in. But definitely Brighton and Brentford looking pretty good. I think obviously Toney from Brentford. I like Ben Mee. I think Everton and Southampton are fixtures that Brentford could potentially keep clean sheets in. And Ben Mee, I think he's only scored 3 goals this season, but he feels like he scores every game week. So yeah, I quite like Ben Mee as an option. I think Toney and Mee, maybe Raya as well if you wanted to go for a keeper. And obviously Brighton, they've got a good keeper in Sanchez too. I think he's just a trustworthy, reliable, cheap FPL goalkeeper. Obviously their defenders, I think Dunk is probably the pick at those. And then in terms of midfield, March and Matoma, I like both of those. I think Matoma's probably a bit stronger. He's just a better player in my opinion. And then probably Ferguson up front. So yeah, plenty of options from Brentford and Brighton. I'll definitely be looking to bring some of them in for 27. And then I've just got some key news regarding Man City and Arsenal, the teams we're interested in this game week. They both double. We want to know what their predicted lineups are. So I've had a look on Twitter, and there's 2 accounts that seem to be pretty good at predicting their teams. They've gone a bit different, but well, they're pretty similar. But in 1 or 2 positions are a bit different. So Alex has predicted just the Villa game so far, and that's the team he predicts there. I won't go through it all because you can see it on the screen. Then hopefully let me know in the chat if it's not big enough for you to read. But Luke Disable has predicted both of the fixtures basically. Yeah, he predicts Ake unfortunately to miss the first fixture, but he also says he could quite easily play both. So yeah, that's what he predicts the teams to be. Interestingly, he predicts both Mahrez and De Bruyne to start both of the games. And likewise, Akanji too. And Laporte, interestingly. But yeah, that's the teams that he predicts. If I was a Man City fan, I've got to say I'd be frustrated with how Pep is continually picking our teams. Our teams are not a Man City fan. You know what I mean? I think he just needs to pick the team almost the team on the right of that image. He needs to pick the strongest team that he can field in every game for the rest of the season, in my opinion. I think one of the reasons Man City are not at the races and conceding goals is they're not picking a settled team. Like, Lewis is good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's at the level of the rest of the team. I think the defence should be Ederson, Ake, Laporte, Diaz and Walker. That's a proven defence that could win them titles. The midfield should be as it shows in the right-hand picture, and then the front three the same. I just think that's the team that he needs to be picking every week, and he's not doing it. So as a Man City fan, I think I'd be quite frustrated with Pep. Obviously he's more of a football genius than I am, but I just don't see why he's got to move it around so much. Is that the Arsenal team? There we go. Sorry, I've got the Arsenal team as well. Couple of interesting things to show. I know the graphics on the top are probably a bit too small to read in too much detail. The first one I just thought I'd do was a poll that FPL Mode put on Twitter earlier. It's got 2,300 votes, and it was just to see what people's opinions were on Martinelli to Odegaard for a hit. And it's 49-51, yes and no. So the world is 50-50 on it pretty much, which is why I have the Indonesian coin of truth, which will decide if I'm going to do Martinelli to Odegaard for a -4 as well. And then just a note on Odegaard. Apparently he got kicked quite a lot in the Everton game and had to come off early. I didn't actually notice that, and I was watching the game. So, yeah. But, yeah, apparently he got kicked up quite a lot. But he was training and working as normal. So he all looks good on that front. And then this big, complicated-looking table. It's not, I promise. It's from a very good Twitter account, @JumpTheWave. I think it's a lady called Emma. What she does every week, she leads a group of fans from each of the Premier League clubs. And they basically, I think it's 10 of them. I think it's 10 fans from each of the club. They predict, well, you can see actually there, it's the number of lines on this table. So I can't count them, but it might be more like 20. 20 fans from each of the club predict the lineup. And then they rack it all together in a table, apply like an accuracy factor to each of the predictions as well. So when they get them right, they score a point, and when they get them wrong, they lose one. And then she applies some statistics to that to come up with an overall prediction, which you can see in the bold text at the bottom of the table. So where it says Ramsdale 100%, that's the prediction for the player. So interestingly, White is 75% to start, and this is just the first fixture, by the way, the first fixture against Brentford. So White is 75% to start. All the big FPL names are 100%, and then we go across to Martinelli, who's 84% to start. So for me, the Arsenal fans are backing White and Martinelli both to play. I don't really get the hype around White not starting. I don't know where that's all come from, in my opinion. Maybe I'm living under a rock and I'm completely wrong. Please let me know in the chat if if I've dropped the ball on that one. But I really don't see how White misses out. I just don't. I think, Arsenal have become top of the league with him playing at right back, and he's been consistent all season, he's playing at a really good level. I just don't see him getting benched. And I know a lot of people are. But yeah, that I think does it for team news and stuff. And then this isn't the most riveting slide, but I just thought it'd be useful to see, just in terms of the team news and important teams that players might have Premier League players from, basically. So we got Newcastle, Liverpool and Tottenham with what I think are quite significant injuries. Obviously, Liverpool, Van Dijk's one of their best players. Not had the brightest start to the season, but he's expected back for the 18th of February, which is just in time for double game week 25. So it could make Liverpool defence a bit more of an attractive prospect. I'm not sold on Liverpool defence myself, but there's some information for you if you're thinking about it. And then for me, I've been mentioning it every week that he's been out really, but I think the absence of Bruno Guimaraes has a real impact on Newcastle. This week they've got Bournemouth away, so I think they could probably quite easily get away with winning that game and probably keeping a clean sheet without Bruno G. But going into their next three fixtures, they've got Liverpool, a blank, and then Man City. I think the Man City game is probably the one that Bruno is back for. Not entirely sure. But I think it's going to have a real impact on that Newcastle defence not having him. They conceded against West Ham last week, as I kind of predicted. Well, I did predict it. Bournemouth, I think they got a chance of scoring. Probably won't though. And then they got Liverpool and a blank coming up. So for me, no Bruno Guimaraes, a blank Liverpool and Man City as their fixtures coming up. I think Newcastle defence probably sells for me. And then just a note, I didn't know this, but Loris is out until the 1st of April for Tottenham. So it's Fraser Forster in goal. So if you're looking at Pedro Porro or Perisic or someone like that for Tottenham, I think not having Lloris in goal, despite him being a bit ropey at times, I really think that's going to have an impact on them. And then that's what my team's looking like at the moment. I've taken the screenshot. All the stats that I showed before and this screenshot come from my friends at DraftHound. And then the screen share that I'll do when I make my transfers, etc. will be DraftHound as well. But yeah, that's the state my team is in at the moment. I'm pretty guaranteed that I'm going to go for Bruno Fernandes to KDB as one transfer. The question is, do I use a -4 hit to do Martinelli to Odegaard or something like White to Gabriel? Or do I use it to get rid of Cancelo, who's just there on my bench, and go for a Man City defender and start them above Nonto? I could go like Cancelo to Akanji, who's backed to play both of the games, and then bench Nonto. Yeah, it's a tough one, and I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. So yeah, that's why I'm on stream. I'm interested to see what you guys think I should do with my team. And yeah, I'm here to answer your questions as well. So that was it for like the slides I had to go through. And as we go through the stream, I will, I'll just keep showing them over and over again as people join and leave and stuff. But yeah, that's how I'm looking. Hopefully you found that bit of info beforehand useful. I'm just going to quickly check the world of Twitter to see if everything's blown up and gone to pot or if we're all good. By the way, I have, look at this, a Golden Goal branded mug that I'm drinking my morning coffee out of. You can buy one. In fact, I don't think the stream description's got it in, but I'll put it in the description after this stream. You can buy yourself a mug. But yeah, I hope you've all had a good week. Yeah, let me know what you're up to this weekend, what your transfer plans are, etc. Yeah, here's my team. Alexandru, keep Martinelli this game week. Got a good feeling about him. I do too, mate. I think I'm going to keep him. Better to switch Cancelo to Ake/Akanji. Do you think so? Or is it better? I just think it's a more sensible play to go Bruno Fernandes to KDB. My gut tells me that's a better transfer. Because I'm not going to have a risk of like none of these players starting and then going Cancelo deep on my bench. And what will happen is Andreas comes in, who's got Forest at home, which I think is perfectly fine. So I'm a bit... I see what your point, but I just think Bruno to KDB is the right play. Okay, yeah. Got you. Sorry, mate. Understood. My bad. Yeah, Bruno's KDB has got to be done, hasn't it? I'm not even that impressed by KDB, I've got to say, but it just makes sense, doesn't it? Excuse me, I'm just choking. Hang on. Oh, sorry about that. I was just dying. George said he got burned by Haaland when he got a hat-trick against Wolves and it felt awful. Mate, I got burned by him when he got his hat-trick against United as well. When I haven't captained Haaland, it's never worked for me. And I'm not saying that's like... That should play on your mind. Like, past like events like that should play on your mind. But the fact that Haaland has a double game week... I just don't think you... And he's top of all the projections. Like, all the expected points. All the goal odds... You know, top of the Premier League scoring charts, top of the FPL point scoring charts. I just don't think you can look beyond him. I'd understand why you want to go Saka to be a bit different. And don't get me wrong, I like the option. But I think on weeks like this where Haaland is going to be so heavily captained, in some cases triple captained. I mean, his effective ownership is almost definitely going to be around you. Is going to be like nearly 200%. I just don't think it's this week to go different. I think the week to go different is the likes of double game week 27, where you could go for Mitoma or Tony, and then there will be people that just have it on Haaland. I think those are two good options. Likewise with 25, I think you could go for any of the Arsenal players and do all right. Same with Liverpool. I think there are plenty of options in 25 to go different. So 25 and 27, and we're expecting some potential double game weeks in the future as well, in like the 30s and beyond. So I just don't think it's this week to go different, in my opinion. And also, if you didn't go for Haaland and you'll go for like Saka, and Saka doesn't do well and Haaland does well, it's really, really going to punish you. Whereas if Saka does well and Haaland doesn't do too well, I don't know. I just don't see you rising. You obviously will rise, but I think the punishment of Haaland doing well and Saka not is much bigger than the gain you'll get from Saka doing well and Haaland not, if that makes sense. That's just my opinion. Sorry, it's early in the morning, so if I'm mincing my words a bit, my apologies. Yeah, I just don't think a Haaland double game week. I'll just keep repeating myself, to be honest. But yeah, I don't think a Haaland double game week is the week to go different on your captaincy. I think there are plenty of other opportunities to do so, in my opinion. Because like I feel it could be a season ender. Like genuinely, if Haaland scores, but I think he's genuinely got the capability to score like 5 goals in a game week. He's that good, and I know his form has not been like electric since it started again. But I'm pretty sure he has scored a hat-trick post the World Cup, hasn't he? I'm just going to look at his like points history. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he scored a hat-trick post the World Cup. Who did he score one against? Yeah, Wolves. He scored 3 goals against Wolves. So obviously, he blanked against just in the last fixture against Spurs. But before that, against Wolves, he scored a hat-trick. Then he scored a goal against Spurs. And then I think we're pre-World Cup at that point. But yeah, I just think he's just too good not to captain him. Should have a scroll of the old Twitter together to see if there's any big news. This is Emma's account, by the way, where I got the data from for the predicted lineups. Very good account that I'd recommend you follow. And basically what she does once all the predicted lineups come out, please let me know if you're interested in looking into the lineups in a bit more detail. Happily click on them. I was just going to have a quick stroll, and then we can have a look for you, Alexandru, about my chip strategy, because I've done a slide about that. God, Twitter's crap, isn't it? You can't refresh it on them, and that is tweets. Yeah, that's good advice from FPL Praz. Don't sell Martinelli if you have players that blank. I'd be inclined to agree. Yeah, potential doubles in 29 by the looks of it as well, so that's going to be fun. Okay. Have to bear with. I'll pull up the slides that I make my graphics with, because in here somewhere you'll get an insider look into how my graphics for my streams are all made. Just got to make it fit on the screen. 2 seconds. The reason I'm doing this is because one of the slides has my chip strategy on it. Right, there we go. Let's go back to OBS. Bear with, chaps. I'll flash it up in a second. Where is it? This is all my thumbnails and graphics. Look, you get an insider look into how I do it all. It's here somewhere. There we go. There it is. Feels like I'm in a meeting. Can you see my screen share okay? Yeah, that's my strategy. So unfortunately, I've used my triple captain already. Like I think most players probably would have. They either used it in 20 like me or last week on Rashford. To be honest, I'm not too upset about that not completely paying off, because I think when you look at the total points difference, it's 11 points down if you triple captained Haaland in 20 compared to Rashford. So I'm not too upset by that. It's looking like there's going to be a double in 29 with some rogue teams that I don't necessarily have players from. I think the 27 has impacted that a little bit. So I think is that double game week 27 one to use the free hit in? I don't think so. 29 is looking like a promising double as well. So I think that might be the week I use my free hit. My wild card, I think, is going to be used in 33. Basically, there's a big blank game week that's predicted to happen in 32. So I was going to, I was just going to dead end my team into that, make my transfers to prep for that 32 blank, and then just wild card my team for 33. And then my bench boost, we're expecting some doubles to arrive in 34 and 37. So if I tactically play my wild card in 33, I can do it in a way that's got a decent bench ready for 34 or 37, or I could play the bench boost basically. So that was my plan. I think it's pretty solid. The free hit I think has been affected a little bit by these 27, 29 announcements. But I think we'll probably know the fixtures I think for game week 29 before 27. So I was just going to wait a bit more time to see which of those two is best to use the free hit. But that's looking like my plan, mate, if that's helpful. And then you got a bit of an insight into how I make all my videos as well. But yeah. And that was all what I would say. It's changed a little bit because there's been some fixture announcements. But FPL Raptor, I'm not taking any credit for it because it's a great video. It's a couple of weeks old now, and that's just the nature of FPL, unfortunately. You make a video and then within a few days, bits of it become out of date. But I think the content of the video is really good, and it puts you in a good frame of mind for thinking about when to use your chips based on the fixtures. I think all that's changed since then is there's a double in 25 and 27, but I don't really think the chip strategy is too affected by those. So, yeah, if you want to visit his channel, please don't leave my stream to do that, though, of course. Only joking, you can. But, yeah, have a look at Ross's channel. I think his name's Ross, FPL Raptor. He's got a great video on it, and I'm not going to take any credit from him. Now, I'm sure there are other FPL content lot that have done a chip strategy video as well. I'm sure about it. But yeah, hope you're all doing good. Let me know what your transfer plans and stuff are for this week. If you've got anything you would like the Indonesian coin of truth to decide for you, i.e. Martinelli to Odegaard for a hit. Otherwise, I'm going to do it for myself, even though I've already decided. So I don't think I'm going to go with the coin of truth. Otherwise, if you're new, I will give it another minute and then go through all the news again before the game week. Hello, FPL Boo Boo, mate. Good to see you too. Very regular viewer of the stream. I really appreciate your company. Hope you've had a good week. And yeah, looking forward to the game week. Hope your team's not doing too badly. It's hopefully in a better state than mine. I just love to get rid of Cancelo. I would have wanted to get rid of Cancelo now for the last month, but I just can't justify it. Yeah, I think that's probably a bigger dilemma for me than going Martinelli to Odegaard or White to Gabriel for a hit. I think is going Cancelo for a Man City defender for a hit, because my priority transfer is going to be Bruno to KDB. and then playing the Man City defender over Nonto. And also, there's a question: do you play Nonto or do you play Andreas? The expected points are saying Andreas, but I really like Nonto. I just think he looks really exciting. And he's at home against United. He played really well against them at Old Trafford. I just think he's really promising. So yeah, that's obviously my dilemmas. And yeah, please let me know if there's like any other transfers there that you spot. But I think yeah, that's my thinking. Oh, good God, that is tough. So I did see some news that Isak is back in the squad for Newcastle. So he could, I don't think he'll start, but he could take some minutes off of Callum Wilson. But obviously Wilson's on the penalties. I'd probably start Wilson over Botman for Newcastle. So I'm saying bench Botman painfully. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, I am. I'm saying if you can bench both Botman and Shaw, I think I'd do that and play Matoma, Mitrovic and Wilson. That's probably the way that I would go. Just because I think Wilson's more exciting. We can have a look at the old predicted points as well, I suppose. There's magic as the screen grows, look. There we go. So we're going to look at Botman. And Callum Wilson. So I think it's between those two. Which one do you bench out of these two? Along with Wilson. Oh, it's close. They've edged it for Wilson. So yeah, I think I'd bench Botman and Shaw, if that's possible with your formation. I'm just going to reset that graphic now. In fact, I'm just going to go into FPL and make sure I've got Haaland set as my captain, because I feel like I could forget that one, and that would be punishing. So I'm just going to make sure that doesn't happen. I have done Martinelli plus Anthony to Mahrez/Saka for a -4 hit. Should I take a -8 and bring Gabriel/Zinchenko in for White? Okay, so for me, mate, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to stick to my guns, and I haven't got rid of Martinelli either. But I think if I didn't have Saka, I've already got Saka, which sort of destroys the context for that one, as you can see. I think Martinelli to Saka is probably worth it, in my opinion, compared to Martinelli to Odegaard. I just think Saka has better upside. But because I already have Saka, I don't think Martinelli out for a hit is worth it in my team. So I'd say good move for that one. -8 for Gabriel/Zinchenko to White. For White, sorry, I think is a completely 50-50 call and could go either way. In my opinion, I think Ben White's going to start both of the games. I just don't... There seems to be a lot of chat about him not playing, but I just don't see it happening. I think, Arsenal have got themselves to the top of the league with Ben White playing right back. I've not seen any news to suggest he's injured. I've not seen any news to suggest that Arteta doesn't want him in the team. Personally, I think he's going to play both games. I really do. But if you would like, this coin here is starting a trend of becoming the coin of truth for transfer decisions. And it's obviously always right because it's the coin of truth. So I can use this as a coin flip to decide for you whether you should do that move for a hit. Because I really do think it's a 50-50 call. I see your dilemma then. Okay, I'd definitely bench Shaw because I think Newcastle probably keep a clean sheet. Man City, Man United don't. So I'd start Botman over Shaw. And then, honestly, I know the form he's in is really good. Who have Brighton got? They've got Palace today, haven't they? I'm pretty sure. Sorry, I don't have a Brighton player to instantly check the fixtures. Yeah, they got Palace. So the points predictions for Mitoma are looking really good. All right, the game expects him to pretty much get a return in that game. But Brighton Crystal Palace is a big rivalry game, and I play the Sky format where you have a captain for every day that there is a football match on in the Premier League. That's the way that game works. And the TV companies always like to make Brighton and Crystal Palace just the only game of the day in the midweek. And you always buy a player for this game, and it never works out for you. This game literally always ends just a really feisty one. It's like 1-1, 0-0, a little knob-end goal for each team. Nothing spectacular. That's how that game usually goes. And for me, I don't think that's conducive to Mitoma scoring. So I think I would bench Mitoma reluctantly out of that lot. Because Mitrovic, I think, Forest don't look particularly good defensively. Mitrovic takes penalties. His underlying numbers are really good. They're better than Mitoma's. So yeah, I think I'd start Mitrovic and bench Mitoma. Oh, you've put No, my logic's incorrect there because you've got Wilson as well. I think I would play Mitoma and Mitrovic over Callum Wilson, in my opinion, and bench Callum Wilson. I think that's probably how I'd go. Sorry for my confusion, but yeah. I'll just go back to my team quickly. Yeah, hopefully that helps you, boo-boo. Here's me sitting pretty with my team. I'm going to go through all the stats again in a second. In fact, why not? I'll do it now because we've got some new watchers. Okay, so starting off with the things I've got to show. I've got the expected points data from DraftHound. You can see there Haaland, Mahrez, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Nketiah, KDB, Grealish, Zinchenko, White, Saliba. It's full of Arsenal and Man City players. As you'd expect, with Haaland topping the list with 14.7 expected points, which interestingly is higher than what Rashford had last week. He had 11. So, yeah, that's what Haaland's expected to get. And then in terms of goal involvement and goal scoring odds, obviously Haaland tops the list. He's top of the expected points. Obviously, he's going to top the goal scoring and goal involvement odds. I think this is interesting because I don't think I've ever seen a player more than 80%, 88% likely to get a goal or be involved in a goal in a game week. I think that's the highest number I've ever seen. So yeah, that's ridiculous for Haaland. And it's the same with goal scoring. Unfortunately, Alvarez makes his way into this list. I think it's just the algorithm that works this out doesn't factor in minutes at all. So yeah, this is what it's looking like in terms of goal scoring and goal involvement odds. I won't go through all the players, but yeah, I've had it on my screen long enough for you to take a look and see if that helps with your captaincy decisions. Interestingly, Gabriel doesn't appear on the expected points list, whereas White and Saliba and Zinchenko do. In terms of clean sheet odds then, so the top team is actually Man City. I think the fact that it's a double game week has confused the table a little bit. But top of the list, we got Man City. So their first fixture against Villa, 55% clean sheet odds, 29% Arsenal. Arsenal, 50% against Brentford, 27% against Man City. I must say, I'm not too attracted to these Arsenal and Man City defences. Like, you'll see my team in a second. I've got Cancelo, which I want to get rid of, so it almost makes sense to do a transfer to bring in a Man City defender, but I'm just not sure it's worth a hit to do it. And I see you've got some questions about that, so I'll look at them respectively. Then we've got Newcastle, Liverpool, Fulham, Brighton, Chelsea, Wolves, United, Southampton, above 30% clean sheet odds. I think if the team's under 30%, you can't really expect them to keep a clean sheet at all, really. So Yeah, that's how the list is looking. I'd say the left-hand side of this stat are probably the teams you back to keep a clean sheet, and the rest of them, I think you should either look to sell or bench their defenders, basically. Excuse me. And then in terms of the fixtures, no real surprise. Like, this is known information for everyone considering we're going into game week 23. Both Arsenal and Man City double. Arsenal got Brentford and Man City have Villa and Arsenal. Then we've got a double coming up in 25 that was announced earlier in the week involving Arsenal, Liverpool, Wolves and Everton. I was saying at the start of this stream, I'm not too enthused by Wolves and Everton. Both of them have a really tough fixture mixed in there as their doubles. And I would suggest Wolves actually have two really tough fixtures because Fulham are a really good team attacking-wise. I think they're a lot better than people are currently giving them credit for. So I don't really fancy Wolves at all. Arsenal and Liverpool, though, is a different story. I absolutely think that I'll be tripled up on Arsenal. And then with Liverpool, there's definitely a case for bringing in one or two players from Liverpool. Personally, in terms of captaincy, I'm leaning towards Saka. I think for me, he's the Arsenal talisman. Gonna play the most minutes of the attackers in both these games, and he takes the penalties. So for me, I think Saka's probably the best captain in 25. But obviously, it's hard also to ignore Salah and the likes of Darwin Núñez as well. I think I might be transferring in Darwin Núñez, but going for Saka captaincy, if nothing drastic happens up until that point. And then we do have some teams that blank in 25 as well. So it's the fixtures basically involving the two teams playing in the Carabao Cup final. So United and Newcastle are in the final and they play Brentford and Brighton. So those four teams are going to blank. What I would say is, given the news about game week 27, I wouldn't be rushing to sell my Brighton players, but I wouldn't have a problem if people were looking to sell Man United and Newcastle players in the upcoming game weeks. And then game week 27, as I said, is a double for Brighton, Brentford, Crystal Palace and Southampton. It's a similar story for me, really, with the game week in 25 and the fixtures there. There's only really two teams that I like. Crystal Palace and Southampton have United and City as one of their fixtures, which makes their assets less appealing for me. Whereas Brighton and Brentford have got two pretty decent fixtures that I think their players could do well in. I think if you were to... I've changed my opinion slightly on this, actually. He's got 8 yellow cards at the moment, so it's one to monitor. But I definitely think Tony is looking like a really good captaincy for game week 27. If he stays clear of that ban he seems to just be immune to it at the moment. I thought it was coming like just post the World Cup, but I don't know how the investigation's going. Definitely need to keep tabs on that, of course, but I think Tony is looking like a good captaincy shout for 27. And then we got a bit of news for Arsenal. Just thought this would be worth showing. The complicated looking table at the bottom is basically the lineup prediction. It's an account called Jump the Wave on Twitter. A lady called Emma. She's got a cohort of 20 fans of each of the big teams that do a bit of rotation in the Premier League, and they all predict the lineups. And you can see along the bottom whether there's a percentage figure in bold and the players' names. That's what they predict their likelihood to start to be. All of the big names for Arsenal that people have in their FPL team are at 100%, but White and Martinelli are slightly less. 75% of the predictors think White is going to play against Brentford, and 84% think Martinelli is going to play. So I think it's pretty safe to expect them both to play the first fixture. There's obviously a question mark about the second. And then Man City. My two favourite predictors for Man City on Twitter are Alex and Luke Disable. These are the teams that they predict. Pretty similar teams for the first Villa game, with the difference being, I think, is it Laporte for Luke and Ake for Alex. And then Luke predicts that team for the Arsenal game, this one you see on the right there. And yeah, I'll just go back to my team and have a look at some of the questions we got. Taking a hit for White to Akanji, mate. If you would like the Indonesian coin of truth to decide for you, then I'm happy to do that. I don't think it's worth a hit for me, personally. I'm going to stick with White. Who am I replacing Cancelo with? Unfortunately, I would do it for, I think, either Ake or Akanji, but I don't think it's worth a hit. So I don't think I'm going to do it. I think my transfer this week is just going to be Bruno Fernandes to KDB. Then I'm going to sit with the rest of the team. Triple captain Haaland. I think if you haven't played your triple captainship already, I think I would play it this week on Haaland. Absolutely. The expected numbers are there for him. And I think going forwards with the potential future double and blank game weeks, etc., etc., I think they are better weeks to use like your bench boost or your free hit on, or your wild card to get ready for, rather than your triple captain. So I think Haaland triple captain this week, and then use your other chips in the future double game weeks. Luke Shaw or Almiron? Let's have a quick look at that. That's my FPL team. I'll do a little comparison. So Shaw predicted points this week, 4.1. If you just bring in Almiron quickly, show you what he's got. 4.6. So Almiron, I think I'd go Almiron over Shaw. I really don't fancy United to keep a clean sheet in that game without Casemiro. Yeah, I think I'd just go Almiron. Thinking Cancelo to Rico Lewis, or I was thinking that too, mate, but I just don't think it's worth it. If you see the Man City predictions, Lewis is not back to play both the games, in my opinion. So if you go Cancelo to Lewis, you're basically banking on Lewis playing the Villa game, because I don't think he's going to feature in the Arsenal one. Unless you desperately need to take out Cancelo to field a team of 11, I don't think it's worth it myself. Sorry, I got a bit of a cold, so I'm just going to go on mute while I blow my nose. Sorry about that, chaps. Ben Vlogs, hope you're all good, mate. Any transfer decisions you're looking to make, or you decided, already locked in? I'm just going to check the world of Twitter just to see if there's any big news or anything at all. I don't think there's anything too drastic happening this week, though. Any injury news from yesterday? Nothing really, mate. The key news for me was Odegaard. If he was ever a doubt, because he apparently got kicked quite a bit in the Everton game, which I didn't notice, and he got subbed off early. I did notice the early sub, but he's back to being fit. The key injuries for me are these three. I don't think there are any others. And these aren't exactly key injuries at the moment for FPL. Apart from Bruno Guimaraes, which I mentioned last week, I think not having him in the team really impacts Newcastle. I don't think people will be going near Liverpool defence too much to worry about Van Dijk. And then also, Hugo Lloris has got a knee injury apparently. I didn't even know he was injured. So if anyone's got Tottenham defence, which I'm not entirely sure they will, it makes them a bit less attractive. And yeah, here's how my team's looking. What are your decisions, Ben? What are you what are your potential transfers? Is your team similar to mine? I imagine you've got some of the same players that I do. Of those three, mate, I would say Lewis. I know they had one good result against Arsenal, right? Did Everton, but are you really telling me that Tarkowski now becomes an option? I'm not convinced. I know it's a bit harsh to say, but it's just my opinion. Don't be too offended by it. And then Wolves defender, also not really sold on Wolves, to be honest. I know they've got a double game week coming up, but their double, if we go back to it, their double is Fulham and Liverpool. I think they could concede in both those games quite easily. So I think I'd go Rico Lewis out of the three. But honestly, I'm not very enthused about any of them, to be honest. But probably Lewis of the three. Ed Boss, I don't think I am at this stage. I just don't think it's worth it. I've got, as you can see, I've got Cancelo there rotting away on my bench, and I could quite easily do a sideways move, but it would cost me a hit, because my main transfer I'm going to do this week is Bruno to KDB. I think Bruno to KDB is an obvious move for my team. With Bruno blanking in 25, KDB having a double this week, I think it just makes sense. I was considering Cancelo to another City defender for a hit, but I'm just not confident it's going to be worth the points, because when you pick a Man City defender this week, you're risking one of them not starting one of the two games. I think it's entirely possible that any of those Man City defenders could miss one of the games. And also, one of the games is against Arsenal, the team top of the league, and I think Man City are going to concede in that game. So, for me, I don't think it's worth a hit for a Man City defender this week. Also, I don't think I'm going to go sideways for Martinelli to Odegaard. I think I'm going to chance it on Martinelli. I really fancy him to score this week. I really fancy Martinelli to do well. I don't think I want to go for Odegaard. I got you, Ben. Sorry, your YouTube name is different to your Twitter one, so I got a bit confused. But if that was you, yeah, if you had a message in the week, that's sound. Martinelli, White, and Nketiah, yeah, similar to me, but with Nketiah instead of Saka. Like it. But yeah, I just don't think Martinelli to Odegaard is worth it. Not this week with the state of my team. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. I just don't think it's worth it. And Hossam, yeah, I was talking about Martinelli to Saka. I think for me that is a different story to Martinelli to Odegaard, because I think Saka is a better option than Odegaard because the minutes are more guaranteed. He's on the penalties. He's just a talisman for Arsenal, and I actually think he's the best captain for game week 25 as well. So I do think Martinelli to Saka for a hit is probably worth it, but I don't think Martinelli to Odegaard for a hit is worth it, if that makes sense. But again, that's my opinion. Like, I don't even think the numbers back that opinion. I think Odegaard is still above Martinelli and Saka for expected returns. But I've just got a feeling that Saka is the best Arsenal asset. So I think Martinelli to Saka for a -4 is probably worth it, but I think I'd be hesitant to do it to Odegaard for a -4, if that makes sense. I definitely wouldn't do Mahrez for Martinelli, in my opinion. I think they'll probably score exactly the same sort of points this game week, and they've probably got the same sort of expected minutes as well. So I don't think that's what you should be using your transfer on this week. I think chances this week, if you can make a move that improves your team for game week 23 and also improves it for 25, that should be the move you make with your free transfer. And then hit should be, as I said, Martinelli to Saka, maybe. And then any other injuries or drastically bad players you've got that you want to replace for a doubler, then that's probably worth it as well. But sideways move for Martinelli that aren't Saka, I don't think are worth it. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, so on the screen at the moment, mate, in terms of Shaw and Almiron, this is Draft Hound's points predictions. They're just on the left here, if you can see my cursor. So yeah, Almiron's 4.6 expected points, Shaw 4.1. I think I stand by those stats, really. I think Almiron's slightly more likely to get an attacking return than Shaw, and obviously Shaw has the backup of a clean sheet, whereas so does Almiron, to be fair. Almiron will get 1 point for a clean sheet. I think I'd just favour Almiron. Just. It depends for me, Wing, I guess. If the reason you'd make that move today and not another day is because you think the Arsenal players are going to score more points than the Man United ones. I like the Bailey to Odegaard move, and I think if the Shaw to Gabriel and Bruno to Nketiah moves enable you to do Bailey to Odegaard, it's probably worth it. But in Sky, I definitely prefer Saka to Odegaard because of the penalties and shot bonus as well. I think Saka's more likely to get those. So if you can go for Saka over Odegaard, I think I prefer that in Sky. The key thing in Sky for me this weekend is the fixture gain that Man City have over Newcastle. They've got a 6-for-2 over the next 3 or 4 weeks against Newcastle. So if there's any way you can sell Newcastle players on Sunday for good Man City players, that's the absolute play this weekend, in my opinion. And I think in order to enable that, I'm actually going to sell Kevin De Bruyne for Saka and then buy Rodri for Trippier and Edison for Pope, and that will be my moves. Yeah. Let's have a look at the doubles in 27. I've got a screen for that, look. I've come prepared, mate. I was saying, I think the outstanding captain on that week is Tony. If he can stay clear of his yellow card ban, because I think he's on 8 yellows now, and obviously clear of his FA ban for betting, I think Tony's a great captain. Everton and Southampton, dregs of the league, I think really good fixtures for Tony to do well in. And it's a good, that's just fun, isn't it, having Tony as your captain for a week. Obviously, Matoma can't be ignored with the form that he's in. He's got Leeds and Palace as his 2 fixtures. I think Leeds is obviously a good fixture. Palace against Brighton is a really big rivalry game. And in the Sky game that Wing was mentioning, you get a captain every day. And the TV companies like to schedule the Brighton Crystal Palace game every time it happens on a day on its own. So in the Sky game, a lot of us players buy ourselves a Brighton or Palace player. And I don't think I've ever had a season where it's paid off for me since they've both been in the Prem. It's usually either a really boring 0-0, well, not boring, an exciting 0-0. It's a really gritty and nasty game. Both teams really go for it, and it's not conducive to scoring lots of goals. So for me, that's probably why Tony edges it as a captain, but obviously I don't mind Matoma as well. I'll definitely have Matoma for that week, but I'll probably have Tony as well as my captain. So yeah, that would be my ideas. To be fair, I don't mind selling a blank player, a player that blanks for a player that doubles, and then selling the player that doubles for another player that doubles, if that makes sense. As you would be doing there with Tony and Nunes, I think it's worth the transfers. Absolutely, it's worth it, mate. I've got a screen here for you. Hang on. You'll see my YouTube on the side, but I'm pretty sure it's this one. Where is it? So the Man City to Newcastle 6-2, I think is definitely worth it in my opinion. Because if you look at the upcoming fixtures Newcastle have, compare them to the Man City ones, defensively wise, you can see these that quick switch of graphics. Man City's clean sheet odds over the next 6 game weeks are really good. They've got a set of really nice fixtures. Whereas Newcastle, the Bournemouth game happens on Saturday, so you can just keep Trippier for that. Then he plays Liverpool, he doesn't have a fixture, and then he plays Man City. Whereas in that time, Man City play Villa, Arsenal, Forest, Bournemouth, Newcastle, and then Crystal Palace. I think that's such a good gain of fixtures. And I think Akanji's the one for me in Sky. And same with Rodri as well. If you can get rid of Trippier for Rodri, I think you're on an absolute winner. So hopefully that explains it. I'll go back to my FPL stuff now. Mahrez or Ben White or both for a -4. Absolutely depends on the rest of the team and who you're selling, mate. I need to know a bit more info before I give my opinion on that. But for me... oh, no, fair enough. Yeah, just leave it then in that case. I wouldn't fancy Rico Lewis in Sky. He doesn't get the passing bonus either, so I don't think Rico Lewis is worth it. Triple cap Haaland a good idea? Yes, mate. I think triple cap Haaland this week is a really good idea. In my opinion, I think he'll probably do either the same or a little bit better than Rashford did last week. And when you look at the potential future double game weeks, an interesting one, right? It depends how rogue you want to be with it. The double in 27, no one's going to be playing a chip for that. Could you triple captain Tony in 27 if he doesn't get his yellows? I think I would. I quite like that. Same with a Brighton player as well. I don't think the Brighton fixtures are quite as good as the Brentford ones though. The Brighton Palace one is a big rivalry that's usually quite a tough game. Likewise in 25, I think Saka could be a shout as well. I don't think I'd be triple captain in Salah just because I don't think I've seen enough from Liverpool. But I really don't mind like a triple captain on Saka for 25. But honestly, if you look at the expected points, Haaland's on 14.7. He's 83% likely, according to the DraftHound algorithms, to score and 88% to get involved in a goal. I don't think I've ever seen numbers that high for those two stats. So I think Haaland is the strong and safe option. But if you want to go rogue, there's obviously those options as well. So you'd be buying Mahrez and Ben White for Anthony and Doherty for a -4. Again, it depends on the other players in your team that you can start. But if you can't field an 11, I think that's absolutely worth it. I'd probably, if you don't already have 3 Arsenal players, I think I'd favour Odegaard and Saka over Mahrez if you can bring one of those in. But if you've already got them, then Mahrez, yeah, that's fine. But yeah, hopefully that gives some useful opinion on those 2 plans you had. Yeah, let me know if you've got any more questions. I've got the DraftHound app open on my screen, so if you want to do like an expected points or clean sheet comparison or whatever on 2 players, I can do that. Okay, Ben Vlogs, what do you think about having City triple of Haaland, KDB and Ederson? Did them from the start as they're just the most nailed, or at least you thought they were? I like it. I'm not massively keen on Ederson, though, because with other goalkeepers in FPL, there's always a backup of saves bonus points if they don't keep a clean sheet, whereas Ederson, he makes 1 or 2 saves a game, if that, and if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he gets 2 points. So I'm not a massive fan of Ederson in FPL. I'm definitely a fan of Haaland and KDB. And I do think that the best setup, obviously it's triple City with a Kanji or someone like that, but I don't think double City and not tripling up is too much of a worry. I think KDB's nailed for the 2 games this week. I think Pep was playing around too much for the Tottenham game, and he got found out. I think KDB's going to play both of these double fixtures. But for me, someone like Kepa in goal, I know he doesn't double this game week, but I think he's likely to keep a clean sheet against West Ham and make a few saves. And I think he will, across a single game week, I think he's got a chance of outscoring Ederson, because Ederson could just quite easily concede in the Arsenal game and blank and then maybe keep a clean sheet against Villa. But yeah, I think I'm not too keen on Ederson personally. Let's talk vinyls. Got White, Odegaard and Nketiah already done his free. Would you take a -8 to get Saka? No. I think White, Odegaard and Nketiah is fine. I think Martinelli's more at risk of not playing than White is. I think White, I've seen a lot of speculation that he's not going to play, but I think it's just hearsay. And I'm not firing shots at anyone or anything like that, but what grounds do you have that the White's not going to start both of the games? He's played every Premier League game this season pretty much, hasn't he? I don't think he's been dropped for a single one. Unless he's had a period of injury or something. So I just don't see how he's not going to start. It's just my opinion. And I'm not trying to just have a different opinion for the sake of it. That's genuinely how I feel. Yeah, so in terms of the Man City odds, so both of the predictors that I use, so Alex he's only predicted the Villa game so far to my knowledge. He predicts KDB to start that one. And then Luke Disable, he's a really good Man City predictor, predicts KDB to play both of the games. And then unfortunately for Arsenal, I don't have a lineup prediction for the Man City game. And I think it will also obviously depend on how the Brentford fixture goes. So I don't have any numbers for the White likelihood to start the Man City game. But really, if he gets benched for the Man City game, I don't see it happening, number one. And I also don't see them keeping a clean sheet anyway, number two. So the player you're going to bring in for White, is he going to score enough points to make a hit worthwhile? I don't think so. So the prediction odds for White are 75% to start the Brentford game. And I'll talk you through how these odds are built up. It's just a complicated table to your eyes at the moment. So basically, this lady called Emma on Twitter, at Jump the Wave on Twitter, she has 20 players, 20 fans of each of like the main teams in the Prem that rotate their players. She asks each of them to predict their starting 11 every week, and then she applies an accuracy like figure based on their previous accuracy of their predictions. So there's lots of calculations here which you can't see off the screen. And basically it ends up with the figure in bold being the percentage likelihood for a player to start. So White's on 75% to play the Brentford game. So I think that's good enough odds to suggest that he's going to play, in my opinion. And then, so that means that if you were to bring in someone for White for a hit, you're bringing them in for a hit to play the Man City game with White not playing it. And do you think they're going to keep a clean sheet against Man City? I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, I don't think it's worth a hit to get rid of White personally. For that reason. Not so template FPL. Good to see you, mate. You've got a great channel going. I love watching your graphics and thumbnails. And yeah, I really enjoy your channel, mate. It's good to see you in the chat. How are you doing? Would you play Shaw or Burn? I played Dan Burn. We can do a predicted points view if you like, but yeah, I really like Dan Burn. I think he's got a bit of goal threat to him, and the Bournemouth fixture is much better than the United's Leeds one, I think. So I think, yeah, I'll go Dan Burn. Oh, so I'm not showing you the predicted points. There you go. Burn's on 5, Shaw's on 4.1. I'd go Dan Burn. In my gut also says Dan Burn as well as the points. It feels like I ramble a lot on these streams when I go through like my thinking about picking players, etc. But I hope it's logical and sort of there feels like there's rationale behind it anyway, even if it turns out to be wrong. Obviously, you can never control the outcomes in FPL, but yeah, hopefully my thinking's got some rationale to it. In your opinion? Benching Mitrovic for Nketiah. Do I think it's good? No. I think Mitrovic has got a really good chance of scoring this week. I really do. I think previous weeks have been unkind to him. Obviously, the penalty against Newcastle was just a disaster. And he's got Forest. I really think Mitrovic could score this week. He'll be in my team and starting. So I don't think I would do that. I think I would look at the rest of my team and see if there's anyone from the midfield that I could take out for Nketiah. Be interested to know what the rest of your team's looking like, Barmy Army, because I think there's another player you can bench for Nketiah. Wing, I really like those transfers you've just said there. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, you're bringing in like the best players from those two teams. Yeah, Barmy, just go for it, mate. Just shoot a message in. Should you go easy and save a transfer? I think you should just make those moves, mate. I think all of those moves in Sky make sense, in my opinion. They're but all for fixture gains, and they're all buying the best players from those teams. So I really like them. I don't think it's a bad weekend to spend 3 transfers. And I think going into that Merseyside derby, you can just make a call on the day whether you fancy it. I think for me, and I said it on the Sky stream did earlier in the week, if I didn't own a Liverpool or Everton player for that game, based on their current form, I'd just skip it. I really would skip it. I've got Salah, but I've had him since like the overhaul. I just haven't had reason to take him out, or haven't had like a burning reason to take him out. So yeah, I think I'd skip that game at the moment. But again, you can make the call on the day, can't you? Oh, bloody hell, that is tough, isn't it? So basically, it's either of those lot, basically, it's either Mitoma or Mitrovic that you bench for Nketiah. Obviously, Mitoma's been in great form, but I think people are overlooking the fixture that he's got. Now, I'm not saying Palace are like world beaters, but the Brighton Crystal Palace game is a big like rivalry game. And my experience of owning players that play in that game is that the game either always ends like 0-0 and it's just an absolutely frenetic 0-0, or 1 or 2, like it's a 1-1, really low scoring game where a team scores like a knob end goal or something like that. I don't think there are many goals in that game for Mitoma, but obviously his form is better than Mitrovic. I think it's one for the coin of truth, mate. If you'd like me to flip the coin of truth for you to decide, you could pick a side for Mitoma and Mitrovic, go heads or tails, and I'll flip the coin for you because I think it's really tough. Cannon Fodder, I think... Oh, thank you very much, Not So Template. That's very kind of you. Cannon Fodder says, what's more important, White to Gabriel or Martinelli to Saka? For me, it's Martinelli to Saka. I think Saka is a better option than Odegaard, despite what the underlying numbers say. He's the Arsenal talisman. He plays the most minutes. He takes the penalties. For that reason, I think Saka's better than Odegaard. So Martinelli to Saka is the move for me. And the reason I wouldn't trade a defender is I think White's going to play the Brentford game. And then I don't back Arsenal to keep a clean sheet in the Man City one. So I don't think it's worth getting rid of White for another Arsenal defender at this stage. I really don't. You choose heads. Okay. You ready? So this coin, it's from Indonesia, so it doesn't have a heads and tails. But what we did last week is we called the head this side, which is a bird, and then tails can be the numbers side. So we're saying heads for... I'm going to go heads for starting Mitrovic then. It's landed on... tails, so it's Mitoma for you, mate. But yeah, it's a 50-50 call, really. Rashford is an option to take out, but I think personally he's better than both of those assets. And the Leeds defence is worse, in my opinion, than the Palace and Forest ones. Edison in for Raya for a -4. Who have Brentford got this week? And who's on your bench? Raya. Raya's got Arsenal, hasn't he? Ooh. Edison for Raya for a -4 is really a good one, actually. I don't mind that. I'd say do it. Why not, Harry? I quite like that move. Play Mitrovic or Botman. Absolutely play Mitrovic, in my opinion. His upside is there. Fraser Forster for Ward. Second keeper is Kepa. Just play Kepa. Kepa doesn't blank. I think Kepa's the best keeper in the game at the moment. I really do. I think Chelsea have turned a real corner defensively with the Badiashile sign-in. Kepa also gets saves bonus. I think Kepa's the best keeper in FPL at the moment, I've got to say. So I'd just start Kepa and then keep Ward on the bench. Don't think you need to worry. Triple captain Haaland, save for a later game week. I think I'd triple captain Haaland. His predicted points are better than what Rashford's were last week. I think they're two fixtures that Man City absolutely have to win. I don't think Pep's going to muck around with his team too much and he's going to play his best players. And I think Haaland this week will probably outscore Rashford last week. That's just my opinion. Eddie Nketiah is more likely to score in the big games for Arsenal. I think he might be responding to someone else. 121 points, that's amazing. You have Ben Mee and Rashford triple captain. Well, that's very nice. Good for you. That's good points. Cannon fodder. I unfortunately am gonna. I know you're doubting it. I don't like Martinelli to Odegaard for a -4 because I don't think Odegaard's good enough. But I don't mind Martinelli to Saka for a -4. I agree that I think Martinelli could well do well, but I think. I think Saka is the best Arsenal midfielder, and I also think he's a captaincy. Well, not really this week. He's a captaincy shout in 25, and I also think he's going to play 180 minutes this game week. He's going to feature in both the games, and he takes the penalties. So I think Martinelli to Saka is worth it, but I don't think Martinelli to Odegaard is worth it. That would be my opinion. Definitely start Mitoma. Mate, FPL just brings these 50-50 calls, doesn't it? I'll flip the coin for you, so that's decided. Sometimes that's the best way to do it. You've got a really tough call there. There's nothing I can really advise on that one. Thank you very much, Wing. I appreciate that. I'll go through all the graphics when these questions calm down. Got to bench one of Darwin, Mitrovic, or Fernandes. Yeah, I don't mind the Darwin bench in there. Whenever you look at the history of the Merseyside derby, it's always quite a low-scoring game, especially this one, with Liverpool not playing particularly well, Dyche being at Everton. I think it's going to be a really cagey game and not many goals. So, yeah, I think benching Darwin this week's okay. I think the Mitrovic ceiling is higher, personally, because he's got the penalties. And I think Nottingham Forest are worse than Palace defensively, in my opinion. But expected goals conceded, I think, are Forest bottom. I can't remember. I think they're both fodder in terms of expected goals conceded, both Palace and Forest. So it's a close one. It's a really tough call, mate. I'm sorry that I can't just give you an obvious answer, but it's just the way the game is sometimes, isn't it? I'll quickly flash through the stats and leave them on screen for a little bit. I won't talk through them all because I've got a bit of a sore throat, so I'm already losing my voice talking so much. But those are the expected points for the game week on screen there. You've probably had it on for enough time to see that. The goal scoring and goal involvement odds. Haaland comes out on top. And to be honest, I've not been doing FPL YouTube for long enough to say this with 100% accuracy. But I have never seen a player as high for a single game week, because it's a double game week, as Haaland is this week to be involved in a goal. It's 88%, the algorithm says, for him to be involved in a goal. Just don't think you can see past that. And those are the goal scoring and goal involvement odds. Clean sheet odds, you can see there. Interestingly, Man City and Arsenal aren't at the top. I think the double game week has confused like the maths behind the table. But basically it goes Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Fulham, Brighton, Chelsea, Wolves, Man United, Southampton. I think any team below 30% to keep a clean sheet, just a no. But yeah, the left-hand side of that, sort of the likes of those, you could probably start their defenders, basically, I would suggest. This isn't really news. Everyone knows there's a double game week this week. Arsenal got Brentford and City. City have got Villa and Arsenal. And then 25, we've had a double game week announcement this week. So Arsenal playing Leicester and Everton. Liverpool playing Palace and Wolves. Wolves playing Fulham, Liverpool. Everton playing Villa, Arsenal. Don't like Wolves and Everton. Don't think it's worth really bringing players in for this double. I just don't like it. But Arsenal, Liverpool, definitely. I really like Arsenal. If you're not already tripled up on them this week, absolutely you should be. I really like Saka as a captain or even triple captain in 25. I don't mind that at all. Not overly sold on Liverpool, but I think I'll probably end up caving and buying Salah or Darwin. And then blank game week 25. There's a few teams. Well, basically it's the two teams and their fixture in the Premier League that are playing in the Carabao Cup final. So United, Brentford, Newcastle and Brighton. Blank in 25. Given that Brighton also have a double game week in 27, I think it's a hard sell to sell players for game week 25 that come from Brighton. But Newcastle and Man United, I think you could probably sell some of their players. I probably wouldn't sell Rashford though if I had him still. And then in 27, Brighton, Brentford, Palace and Southampton have doubles. I'm not overly enthused by Palace and Southampton just because they've got a top 6 team as one of their doubles. But I really like Brighton and Brentford. And I also, if he escapes a yellow card ban and the FA ban, because I think Tony's on 8 yellow cards and still waiting for the FA investigation. I really like Tony, triple captain in 27 against Everton and Southampton. I think that's really nice, personally. If you've got the balls to hold on for that long, you could go for that. Yeah, I think you're probably right on average clean sheet odds percentage, mate. But yeah, you can... Obviously, I don't think it works that way in my head in terms of ranking. But yeah, I think you're right, Edward. Should you triple captain Haaland? I think it's a great shout for Haaland triple captain this week. Yeah, I think he's going to play both games. He's heavily backed to play both games. And Man City have to win them. So I think he's gonna do well this week. So yeah, should you triple captain him? I'd probably say yes. But I've also mentioned Saka in 25 and Tony in 27 as alternatives. Your spelling of bottom is hilarious. Edison, White, bottom. Trippier, Odegaard, Saka, De Bruyne. That's a really nice team, mate. I've got no qualms with that. Yeah, I think the double game week 25 is a bit of a trap for me. Obviously, Liverpool, if they were doubling last season, you'd be tripled up. But defensively, do you really want a Liverpool player? Not overly keen, to be honest. Like Salah and Nunez, I imagine Wing, you'll probably have one of those. You could double up, but the way they're playing, I'm not too enthused. I think, yeah, and I'm not interested in Wolves and Everton at all, personally. I know they've got a double, but Wolves, Fulham and Liverpool are decent attacking teams. Like, are they going to keep a clean sheet in both those games? I'm not convinced. And it's the same with Everton for me. So yeah, I don't hate rolling a transfer. I think double game week 27 with Brighton and Brentford is arguably better. Like Ben Mee and Tony are legends this season. I think they'll do well in 27. Sven Bomb, that made me laugh too. Obviously just a typo, and sorry to make fun of your typing, but that was quite funny. But yeah, give me a shout. Any questions you got with your team? Any benching headaches or whatever? Any 50-50 calls the coin of truth can assist you with? Let me know what you're up to this weekend, if you got any plans, etc, etc. You can ask me anything. Doesn't have to be FPL related. Like my F1, all kinds of sports. Just happy to chat, really, as well as a bit of FPL. Got an hour to go until the deadline. I'm probably going to lock in my transfers at 10:30 just to be double safe. I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, I'm just being safe. I think my plan, this is obviously my team, you can see there. I think my plan, I'm just going to do Fernandes to KDB. And then I've got a bit of a benching headache between Nonto and Andreas. I don't think I'm going to take a hit to bring anyone else in. I think I'm just going to go Bruno to KDB. And then I've got a decision to make on Nonto v Andreas. Like, who do you guys think I should start out of Nonto and Andreas, just out of interest? Yeah, I'm a bit stuck because I think it's just as 50-50 as Barmy Army's decision, to be honest. I have to bear with. I got a bit of a cold, so I'm just going to sneeze a second. There you go. It's good to have everyone in the stream, by the way. I haven't said this yet so far, but it'd be lovely if you could give me a like rating if you're enjoying spending your morning with me, and subscribe to the channel as well. I'd love to make it to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the season. That'd just be wonderful. And yeah, if I could do that, I'd be a very happy man. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do 2 or 3 FPL videos a week, depending on how busy I am at work. I basically spend most of my spare time doing FPL videos when I'm not at work. So yeah, my output depends on how busy I am at work, basically. But yeah, 2 or 3 videos a week is what you can expect from me. And yeah, I do a deadline stream when I'm free at the weekends before the deadline. I think the only one I'm going to miss is one in March where I've got an appointment at the doctor's, unfortunately. So that's going to have to take priority. Yeah, I don't mind that for yeah, I think probably. But then Nonto scored against United in the last fixture, mate. It looked really good. He did look really good in that game. You can't deny it. So yeah, I think probably Andreas too, to be fair. I think probably go for it. I just know whoever I pick is going to... whoever I don't pick is going to score. And the one I do pick won't. So don't do what I do would be the advice. And I'm so annoyed. I still don't have Harry Kane. And I still don't have a route to buying him. And Leicester is like the the game that he scores the most in of all the teams, and I don't have him still. I'm just so annoyed that I can't get to him. I can't justify it. Oh, that is true. Nonto goal wiping out a Shaw clean sheet. That's a good point. That is a good point. Yep, I'm with you. Yeah, I like that. That's good logic. Good logic. Good logic. Give it another minute or so and I'll run through all the underlying numbers again quickly. I'll pull the actual FPL website up as well because I can't make my transfers in Draft Hound, unfortunately. There we go. There's the trusty transfer screen. I would probably do Mahrez to Bruno. I think the Bruno to KDB is the better move because KDB you can back to play pretty much all of the fixtures. But I also don't mind Bruno to Mahrez purely because Mahrez doubles this week, and I think most predictors suggest he's going to play both of the games of the double. And Bruno blanks in 25. So that's a transfer that not only makes your team better for this week, but also brings in a player that plays in 25. Absolutely Wilson to Nketiah. Nketiah's underlying numbers are better than Odegaard's. His goal scoring odds and goal involvement odds are better. So is Mahrez. Mahrez is in form too. And Mahrez he's got what? Over the next weeks, he's obviously doubles this week and doesn't blank in 25. So that's 2 extra fixtures over the next 3 game weeks. So I think for me, Mahrez, absolutely. And then Nketiah is better than Odegaard in terms of the numbers. Goal scoring odds are far higher than Odegaard's. Goal involvement odds is a little bit lower, but barely anything. It's 2%. And Wilson blanks in 25 and Kulusevski doesn't. So for that reason, I'd go with that. I'd go Wilson to Nketiah. Mate, I just said I think Bruno to Mahrez is the play. I really do. But if you can buy KDB instead of Mahrez, I'd do that. Because I think KDB is even more nailed than Mahrez is, but I don't mind Bruno to Mahrez this week. It's not necessarily, when you make a transfer in FPL as well, you shouldn't just think of one game week. If you're using a transfer in FPL, in my opinion, it should be thinking of at least the next 3 or 4 game weeks. And I think if you want to get rid of Bruno, bringing in a Man City midfielder is a good shout. And I think below KDB, Mahrez is the second best. I think he might outscore KDB in terms of points this week because he's just getting more involved in goals than KDB is. Obviously, his minutes are slightly worse. That's the only consideration. And I think he might take the penalties for City as well. I don't really think so. No, it's HAALAND, isn't it? What am I saying? But yeah, I like Bruno to Mahrez. And it's a move thinking of the next few weeks rather than just this week as well. Because you're bringing out a player that singles in 23 for one that doubles in 23, also one that blanks in 25 to one that doesn't blank in 25. So for me, it's the obvious move. Jordan, I can only tell you if you should bench player if I know the rest of your team, bud. Unfortunately, there's not enough info there for me to say anything. Depends on who the rest of your midfielders and strikers are. I can't really make a call. The one thing I would say is that Everton against Arsenal targeted them from crosses and set pieces. Brentford will do that too, and Tony's really good at getting on the end of crosses and really good at holding the ball up, etc. when they play it long. So I think Tony could quite easily score against Arsenal. I really do. Kepa to Ederson or any goalkeeper, or Bruno to Mahrez. Bruno to Mahrez, mate. I think it's the obvious move of the game week. I think Kepa is probably the best goalkeeper in FPL right now. Chelsea are keeping clean sheets left, right and centre since Badiashile started, and Kepa's getting bonus points and saves. He doesn't blank in 25. He's 4.5 million. I think Kepa's the best goalkeeper in FPL right now, so I wouldn't be selling him. I think I'd go Bruno to Mahrez. I know you can. I can tell that you're hesitant about doing it, and I suggest if your gut feeling is it's the wrong move, just don't do it. But you've asked for my opinion, so I'm giving it. I sound a bit straight and harsh saying that, but it's just how I feel, mate. But yeah, what are you guys up to this weekend? Anyway, let us know what you're up to. I am hopefully going to be able to go to the gym after this. I have to check the bookings. My gym's got a booking system, and when I booked in at 12, I was on the waiting list. I couldn't get in, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. And yeah, then I'm going to watch Bristol City against Norwich down at Ashton Gate because it's only like a mile away from my house, so I got a season ticket, so I'll be going to the football later on. I completely get your concern for minutes, mate, but I think your concern for minutes is outweighed by the fact that Bruno doesn't play at all in 25, and that's guaranteed, and he only has a single game week. And if you look at all the Man City predictors as well, I didn't give you this context. So Alex and Luke, the two best Man City predictors, they think he's going to play in the Aston Villa game, and they think he's going to play in the Arsenal game. So for me, that's what I do. The one player on that team I could see there, Jordan, that I'd take out for Tony is Botman. Because the rest of the team is just nailed it. Or Shaw as well, actually. I think I'd probably play Tony over Shaw, you know. I just noticed Shaw in there. I'd probably play Tony over Shaw. That's what I'd do. I just think Tony's on penalties as well, isn't he? He's literally the best penalty taker I've seen. He's so good. I think if he gets a penalty against Arsenal, he's scoring it. So for that reason, I think he's better than Shaw. Hopefully that helped you, Brisky. I mean, Luke, Disable, and Alex are two of the, especially Disable, are literally the most accurate Man City predictors out there. Obviously, no one can predict Pep 100%. And is it a reliable source? It's as reliable as they come. But is it accurate? No, he doesn't have any insider information. He predicts him because no one really has any insider information on the Man City teams, and especially not for the Arsenal game because Pep probably hasn't decided his team yet himself. Sam, if you can, right, so question I'll ask based on that, the move I would make above all of them is Bruno to KDB. But if you already have KDB, I'd still do Bruno to Mahrez, actually. Because I think Andreas is just a nice option to have on your bench. He structures your team nicely, and he doesn't blank in 25. So I think I would do Bruno to Mahrez of that lot. I'm not saying Andreas is better than Bruno. I'm saying that he doesn't blank and it's better for the long term. So I think I'd do that. Yeah, then in 25, you can start Andreas, mate, if you do Bruno to Mahrez. Yeah, Tony over Shaw, absolutely. Start Mitrovic or Matoma. There was a chap in the chat before. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't pronounce your name. I feel really bad. There was a chap called Barmy Army who had the same decision. I flipped a coin and it said to start Mitoma. But I think Mitrovic being Mitoma this week is a 50-50 call, completely down the middle. I don't think there's an easy option. Fernandes to Saka, really like that move. I don't think Martinelli to Odegaard is worth it for a hit. I think I'd just do Fernandes to Saka. I think that's a really strong move. You not think Bruno has a good chance of points this week? I do, but I also think Man City have a double, so I'd do that. And you're going to want to sell Bruno, I think, for 25. I don't think you're going to want to keep him in your team. Start Fernandes or Nonto. I know I've just shat on Bruno Fernandes, but I'd start him over Nonto. Would you rather save a free transfer or do Bruno to Mahrez? I'd do Bruno to Mahrez personally. My best fan team, second half team, I may have made a mistake jamming 3 Arsenal players in by doing David De Gea to Ramsdale, Shaw to Tarkowski, and Mbeumo to Odegaard. Is that okay for a hit? I don't like Tarkowski at all. I really don't. I think Southampton is like Perraud at his price in fan team is a really good option. He's 4 million, so the cheapest defender in the game. He starts pretty much every week for Southampton. So I'm just rubbing my head because that helps me remember things like a weirdo. And he doubles in 27. So I think I'd go for Perraud over Tarkowski. And then I like the rest of the moves. And the nuance in fan team compared to FPL is that hits are worth it for a double in fan team, in my opinion, because the bonus points favour players that play more minutes. So for me, I really like that. But I would probably do Shaw to Perraud instead of Tarkowski. If you don't already have Perraud. If you've already got Perraud, then Tarkowski's fine. Brisky, if your gut feeling is to keep Bruno, then keep Bruno. If you're feeling that strongly about it, then just do it. I mean, the last thing you want is some FPL bloke on YouTube telling you to make a transfer and then being unhappy because it didn't work out. I also think, like, emotionally wise, you'd be more annoyed if you did Bruno to Mahrez and Mahrez was crap than you would if you just kept Bruno and Bruno was crap. So I think you should stick with Bruno if that's the way you're thinking, mate. I just gave my how I would play it, but it's your own game and play it your way. And I think if you're sold on Bruno, which it seems you are, I'd stick with him. That's what your messages are alluding to anyway. I'll go back to my team. Triple captain Haaland, yes, I think it's a great option this week. His predicted points are better than Rashford's. I personally think he might outscore him this week. And you've also got a double in 25 and 27 where you could use the triple captain, namely on Saka in 25 and Tony in 27. And Tony's got Southampton and Everton, I think, in 27, which are two really strong fixtures. Could you imagine triple captain in Tony in 27? How much of a differential that would be? But I do think of the three that I've just mentioned, of Tony, Saka and Haaland. Haaland this week is the safest. Get Saka for Andreas or Bruno. The Bruno switch helps me get Salah for 25 without taking Kane for Darwin, but I'll have to play Nonto in the next two. Or, I'm sorry, mate, I don't think that's enough information for me to make the decision. I've told a bloke above in the chat. Was it you? I can't remember. I told someone previously who was considering something similar to keep Andreas and sell Bruno because Andreas doesn't start. It doesn't blank in 25. I can't believe I said that. It feels so wrong, but that's just what my gut instinct tells me. And the thing is, when you're making a transfer as well in FPL, it's not just for 1 week, right? You've got to make a transfer with the next, I'd say at least 3 game weeks in mind. So, like selling Andreas, you'll probably want him for 25 and play him. So, is it worth it? And then I just think it's worth selling Bruno. It feels all kinds of wrong saying it, but yeah. In terms of right time to play the wild card, if you'd like an insight into how I do my FPL graphics, I do them all in PowerPoint. Look. This is my chip strategy. So I think the wild card is going to be used by me in 33. So we're expecting a big blank game week in 32. And I think it's worth using some free transfers to get yourself ready for the blank in 32. And then in game week 33, you play your wild card to buy a team that you really like. And then there are doubles in 34 and 37. And obviously you can think about picking players that double in 34 and 37 in your wild card to then optimize it to play your bench boost later on, if that makes sense. So you could wildcard in 33, build a team that you're happy to bench boost in 34 and then bench boost it in 34. And obviously the wild card gives you complete freedom to pick any player you like, if that makes sense, without costing you any points. So yeah, that's how I do it. What do you mean by that, Ben, mate? Get people's teams up. Should I be having a look for people's teams on the screen, you mean? Because Draft Time, this app here, does have the feature to do that, to be fair. So if people want to send me their team ID, I can have a look. I think in the settings I can... I think in the settings I can look at your team in Draft Hound by ID, so I can do that if you like. I'm glad my enlightenment was worth it. I don't know. Hopefully, I just have rational thoughts. I've never claimed to be like an FPL oracle. I just think things out quite. Yeah. Hopefully, my thought process is relatable. Dunk to Tarkowski, Martinelli to Odegaard. Nah, I wouldn't do that. I think Lewis Dunk, unless your team is in absolute dire straits to 25, I think Dunk's worth keeping because he doubles in 27. Martinelli to Odegaard for a hit, I don't like. I don't think there's enough points in it for it to be worthwhile, but I do think that Martinelli to Saka for a hit is worthwhile because I think Saka's a better player than Odegaard. That's what I do. No, I don't. And then Yogesh has asked Yogesh has asked the same question. I don't think Martinelli to Odegaard's worth it if you were to ask me. I'm not going to do it, I don't think. I'd absolutely bench Cucurella, by the way. White's got a double game week. I think he's going to start both games. I don't think... There seems to be a lot of chat about White getting benched for one of these two, but they're top of the league from White playing at right back. Sorry, I just don't see White getting benched. Could get hooked early, but that might work in his favour, so... I'd be happy to keep White. Play White, bench Cucurella. Ben, if you are you going to send it on Twitter? Are you? Let me know if you sent it by DM on Twitter, and I can pull it up. I don't think Trossard's going to start. I don't think Trossard has done enough in an Arsenal shirt yet to earn a start over Martinelli. Personally, if he does, and I'm wrong, so be it. But I don't think it's worth it. Play Trippier or Shaw? Oh, Trippier, 100%, mate. Bournemouth away, plum fixture for Trippier. You've absolutely got to play Trippier over Shaw. No question about it. So team ID, I'm not even sure. Someone in the chat will probably help you with that, but I'm pretty sure. Hopefully I don't give away like my login details with this. I'm pretty sure it's not this page. If you scroll down on the FPL screen, and I think it's team details. Is it that? It's not that either, is it? Oh, you have to to find your team ID. You have to do it in a browser. I know that much. Is it in my user profile? Oh, I don't want to be showing you that on screen. Show you my details. It's in here somewhere. I don't know. Someone in the chat might be able to help, but you definitely need to do it in a browser. So if you're on your phone, you've got to do it in Safari. Yes, I can actually. I can search your team name. Bear with. If you tell me your team name, Ben, I can pull it up. I can pull it up in Draft Town if you like. And so my team's called Custard Cream FC, and then I search Custard Cream, and it tells me all the players that have got Custard Cream in their team name. Matip and Debussy, bloody hell. Are you just making me say that on stream or something? It's not there, mate. I think you've just done me by getting me to say Matip and Debussy. Oh, there's a space in it. I thought you were pranking me. Wing, thank you so much, mate. You're always very kind when I'd stream. Those kind of comments make it all worthwhile, mate. I really appreciate that. Your name's Ben Alden, isn't it? Let's go. By the way, I absolutely cannot make transfers for you in this. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. I can't make transfers for you. And then I reset and it should show me your team. There you go. There's your team. There you go. So if anyone wants to send me their team name in FPL, I can have a look at it on screen and do an on-fly analysis. How good's that, eh? Or you could look at the expected points to work out who to bench, etc. I need to crop this capture of the screen a second. Bear with, mate, while I just sort the graphics out for you. Oh, there you go. That'll do, innit? You can't. It's a bit cropped out, but you can mostly see it all. Oh, come on. There we go. But yeah, there's your team, mate. I think that's looking like a really sexy team, I've got to say. Would I make a transfer? Tripled up on City, tripled up on Arsenal. Starting Tony over Botman and Almiron, don't mind that. I think that's a really nice team. You've probably already set your captain, but make sure the right player is your captain. I'm not saying Captain Haaland, I would be. But yeah, I really like that team, mate. It looks really good. I can't argue with any of those picks. I don't think you need to make another transfer. You just should make Haaland your captain, in my opinion. But there's no moves with that team that I would make this week beyond what you've already done. I would roll and you got free transfer. You're in dreamland, mate. I'd absolutely just roll the transfer because you've got quite a lot of you tripled up on Newcastle, tripled up on United as well. You're gonna need those transfers to 25, so I'd absolutely be keeping hold of that one. I'm going to go back to my team now, if that's okay. Absolutely roll and work for 25, mate. There's nothing you can do to improve your team this week, in my opinion. I'm going to go back to my team. But yeah, if anyone wants to send in their team name, you don't have to do the ID. I can find you in the list. Jedi 1. Let's have a look at Jedi 1 then, shall we? There you are. Like I was saying with Ben, it's only connected to FPL in the sense that I can see your team. I can't make transfers for you, so don't worry, that's not possible. So this is your team, mate. That is looking like, honestly, if I played my wild card this week, I'd definitely do Bruno to KDB. By the way, that would be my move. No doubt about it. Bruno to KDB, and then you're absolutely flying. That's what I would do. And then your team's looking really good. That's a really, really nice team. Yeah, Bruno to KDB. That's all you need to do, in my opinion. And you're 200. I can see your rank and everything. Look, that's you go. You're in the top 2% of players in the world. 24 points off the top 100k. Hey, look at that. What a service I provide, eh? That's a really nice team. Like, honestly, mate, other than Bruno to KDB right now, that's like my wild card. If I played a wild card this week, I'd literally be on a team that looked like that. That's really, really good. I'm very jealous because my team has got a lot of fires in it. As you can see when it switches. This website is DraftHound, mate. I'm going to sound like a bit of a salesman, but unfortunately they've kindly given me premium access to their website to use as part of my content. So when you go in as a free user, you won't be able to see all this. But if you pay, I can't remember how much it is a month. I think it's like $5 a month for their premium access. You get access to the assistant manager feature, which they're really keen on. And basically, it suggests to you the most points-bearing transfers you can make to your team. So one of them being, obviously, Bruno to De Bruyne, which is worth 12 points over the next 3 game weeks, by the way, according to the predictions. And then it also gives you open access to all of the expected points data as well that they have. So, yeah, they've got expected points, goal threat, clean sheet odds, all that lot. It's a £5 a month, which I think is worth it, by the way. If they didn't give it to me for free for the improvement of my content, I think I'd just pay the £5 and just have it anyway. Yeah. I don't like to be, if I was ever to like partner up with someone on YouTube, I'd never like to do it in a dishonest way where I like sell you shaving products and stuff like that. I'd sell you stuff that's actually useful to you. And I think Draft Hound's really good. Miss Fancying question. First ever in about 1 million. If forgiven. Thank you, Wing. Ask your question again, mate, if I missed it. Although I do really need the loo, so I'm going to have to nip off for like a couple of minutes just to do that. Ben, I didn't see your hit. You'll have to tell me what your hit is. It didn't tell me what your hit was when I looked at that. DJ Sinclairo, I really like triple captain HAALAND. I think there are 2 options in the upcoming game weeks where you could also play it. I think Saka in 25 is a really good shout, and Tony, who currently doubles in 27, but is obviously likely to get a ban from the FA, and he's on 8 yellows, which incurs a ban when he gets 10. I think Tony in 27 and Saka are alternatives, and I am desperate for the loo, so I'll be back in a minute. Won't be long. Yeah, sorry, folks. I've been live for an hour and a half. Well, 2 hours nearly. So, yeah, I needed a toilet break. Apologies. Oh, mate, no, Ben, your team as it was there was absolutely fine. I would roll your transfer this week. Absolutely no need to do those moves, in my opinion. Don't be gung-ho. I don't think Martinelli to Odegaard's worth it for a hit. I'm certainly not going to do it. And I don't think you need to do Almiron to Bailey. Just leave it. Just roll your transfer, mate. The last thing you want to happen is you make one of those moves and the player you bring in gets injured and then you have to make another transfer again. Just leave your team as it is. White to Kilman. Don't like that. Bamford to Nketiah. I like that. And Fernandez to Mahrez. In terms of expected points, mate, it's not even close. Haaland's on basically 15 for the week. And those are the expected points there. I'll leave that on screen for you to have a look at, mate. Martinelli to Saka for -4. I don't mind that. I think Saka is a better option than Martinelli than Odegaard, and I don't like Martinelli to Odegaard for a hit, but I don't mind Martinelli to Saka because I think Saka's a good captain for 25. He's a potential triple captain for 27. A potential triple captain for 25 as well. So yeah, I don't like Martinelli to Odegaard, but I do like Martinelli to Saka. I think Saka's better than Odegaard. The news on Patterson, mate, I've absolutely no idea. News in my team is that he's had to stay there because I've had other shit ones to get rid of. In honesty, I did have Twitter open. I think he's been running on grass, hasn't he? I saw a picture of him running on grass. I'm going to be a fence sitter here. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go for it. Genjar. Is it a silent J? Sorry if I've butchered your name. I do apologise. I would never say that a decision in FPL is bad, right? Because it's an outcome that you can't possibly predict, right? What happens after you select your team is just, it's in the ether. But all the underlying numbers say that Haaland is better than Saka this week, right? I just don't... This is not the week, in my opinion, to go different on your captain. Absolutely not. With double game week 25, you've got Arsenal and Liverpool at double, where I think there is more than one reasonable captaincy shout that week. So you could go different on that week. Likewise with 27, you've got Brighton and Brentford that both double. Both Brighton and Brentford have very pickable players in FPL to use your triple captain, to use your captaincy on and go different. I don't think this is the week to go different for me. And I think Haaland, just go for Haaland in my opinion. But if you want to go different, your gut tells you this week is the week to go different, play it your way. But all the data suggests that Haaland, just go for Haaland this week. Oh yeah, Perraud over me, definitely. Perraud scored like 3 or 4 goals this season as well. I think Southampton are really going to have to keep it tight because they need to get a result against Wolves. And I think, Brentford are going to concede to Arsenal. So I really like starting Perraud over me, mate. I would do that. Sorry for missing the question originally. It's quite hard to keep up with everything sometimes. Well, I can have a drinks break now. My throat's getting a bit dry. Hopefully Genjar, that all makes sense. Genjar, I'm so sorry. I really feel bad when I mispronounce people's names. But yeah, hopefully what I've said there, you can never predict what happens, right? That's not how this game works. But what you can do is make sound, logical decisions on the likely outcomes, if that makes sense. So that was my rationale for those decisions. I think I'm going to lock in my transfers, by the way. But Ben, sometimes in FPL, just roll the transfer, mate. Like you don't to win your money in your mini leagues. It's not week on week, is it? It's across the whole season. And if your team is good this week and you've got a transfer in hand, just roll it. You just never know what's going to happen this game week. You could get like one of Saka or Odegaard could get injured, and then you need to use a transfer next week, and then you'll wish you had two. You just roll the transfer. Don't think about it. Just roll, in my opinion. I would start Bruno and Botman. I don't think Rico Lewis is going to play both of the games. So I'd start Bruno and Botman. And I also think, I'd start Botman. Just start Botman and Bruno. I don't mind Fernandes to Mahrez this week, purely because Fernandes blanks in 25 and the move gets you ready for that. So I quite like that personally. Some people have disagreed with me in this chat, and that's what the game's all about, obviously. But I personally, I like it. Right, I think I'm going to lock in my transfers. I'm going to go Bruno to KDB. Just get it done. I've done it. There's no need to wait till the deadline because I don't think anything's going to happen, and I'll bench Nonto. And I think I'm actually going to do that. Obviously, Haaland's going to play, so vice captain makes very little difference, but I think I'm going to put it on Saka. I don't mind Haaland triple captain, mate. Don't mind it at all. The thing you've got to think is, what are the alternatives? and we've got a couple already. So game week 25 is a double for both Arsenal and Liverpool. Sorry, I'm just frigging with the graphics here. It's a double for both Arsenal and Liverpool. And then we've just had a double announced in game week 27 where Brighton and Brentford double. So the question is, do you want to triple captain Saka in 25 or Tony in 27? Or do you want to go safe and play Haaland this week when he's got a double? Going to play both games. Expected data looking really good. Yeah. Or McAllister or Nonto. Oh, I just go Nonto, mate. I think the underlying numbers for McAllister, not worth it. He needs a free kick or a penalty to score. So I like Nonto. I've gone Andreas over Nonto because I'd rank McAllister third in that, if that makes sense. Yeah. Nonto's going to score a bloody hat-trick now, isn't he? Now I'm playing Andreas. But yeah, that's how I'm lining up. It's not the most ideal team in the world, I'll admit, but I think it does the job this week, doesn't it? Yeah, let me know. Hit me up with any questions you've got about your team, any suggestions. I've already made my transfer. I've done Fernandes to KDB. I also have an app called DraftHound Open, where you can tell me your team name and it will show me your team with all the expected points for each of your players, and I can help you decide on any transfers you want to make if you want me to do that. Oh, I've completely broken it. I'm going to go back to my FPL team. There we go. Do you have a look, mate? Let's have a look at your team. Yeah, of course I can. Of course I can. I've got to frig this display graphic a second while it's sharing a screen, so bear with, so it's big enough to put DraftHound in it. Why didn't that work? That's annoying. Sorry, bear with. I'm just wrestling technology at the sec. Right. There we go. There's DraftHound. Okay, so your team is Genjar FC. Let's have a look. Hopefully. Oh, because it's got the accent over it. I'm not sure I can. Oh, is that it, mate? Tell me if it's not. I think that's the one, isn't it? Let's sort the screen share out. It's quite a nice system, that, isn't it? Where you can look at people's teams. Sorry, it's a little bit of a squashed view. Let's see if I can fix that. There you go. All right, 89 expected points. Let's make that a bit bigger on here a sec. Tripled up on United, tripled up on 1-3, 1.5 in the bank. I'd start Botman over Shaw if you haven't done already. In my opinion, I would do Fernandes to Kevin De... Ooh, can you afford to do that? No, you can't. Ooh. I think I'd do Fernandes to Mahrez. Yeah. If I were to make a transfer, I'd do Fernandes to Mahrez. But if you're not set on it, I think you could quite easily roll this week. Only one Man City player is not the end of the world, I don't think. You've got no real sensible way of getting De Bruyne, and he's going up, if you like, in terms of money against Kane, who's got an amazing record against Leicester. So Fernandes to Mahrez would be my preferred transfer, but I couldn't really argue with you if you just wanted to roll. Yeah, really nice position, mate. 380k, doing 20,000 places above me. Good job. Let me know if you want your team analysed like this as well. It's quite a nice little method, isn't it? Unfortunately, it does mean revealing to everyone on the stream your name, but that's not really the end of the world. The Bamford one, let's get back to that a sec. Should you start him? No, I don't think I'd start him. I prefer Botman and Andreas to Bamford. Of the two, of Botman and Andreas, I don't really have a preference. But I'd go for either Botman or Andreas. Your preference of the two over Bamford. Wingmate, I need, rather than your FPL ID, I need the name of your team. Or do I? Let's have a look. See if I can search by ID instead. Two, 8, 9, and 4. No, all linked with ID. There we go. Yeah, it won't let me click on link with ID, I'm afraid. If you send me your team name, I'll have to search it. I can't search for your ID. Just tell me what your team's called, and I'll find it. Sorry, I can't do it with I know it says you can link with ID, but it doesn't let me search it, I'm afraid, mate. There you are, Wing Lamb, AOC champions. $456k in and around me, mate. Nice rank. This should be your team with a bit of luck. Is that your team? Yeah, it is. Oh, it's basically exactly the same as mine. You've got Cancelo and Patterson as well. Oh, that's a lovely team. I think the question with your team is, do you go Shaw to a Man City defender? I think you have the money exactly to do Shaw to a Kanji, don't you? Yeah. I don't mind that move, Shaw to a Kanji. But again, similar to the Genja, I wouldn't... if your heart was set on just going with Shaw, then fine, just leave him. But I think the one transfer I'd make of that team is... of course he does. My bad. Good spot, Unish. Sorry about that. I didn't, obviously... I keep forgetting that Cancelo's counts as Man City, because obviously he doesn't play for Man City anymore in real life. So maybe the move is go... so you've already done Cancelo to Tarkowski. Oh yeah, if you've done your transfers already, then it won't show. Fair enough. Don't mind those moves. Benjamin Smith, mate. I have gone for, as you can see, I've gone for Andreas over Nonto because I have that exact dilemma. Part of the reason I did that is because I also have Shaw. So a Nonto goal would, yeah. If I'm backing Shaw to keep a clean sheet, I went for Andreas. Don't know if that's sound logic, but I think it's 50-50 enough that you need those kind of ideas to pick one over the other. And yeah, if you've just joined the stream or you've been enjoying it since I started, I'd really appreciate it if you could give me a like and subscribe to the Golden Goal channel. I put 2 or 3 videos out a week of FPL. You get to know me on the stream and see what I like. So if you like my style, then I do a video like 1 or 2 videos a week like this. And then I deadline stream every time I'm free ahead of the deadline. I think the only time I might not be able to do it is at the start of March when I've got a hospital appointment and a wedding on the same day. So I don't think I can do the 4th of March. But the rest of the weeks, I'll be here 2.5 hours before the deadline doing a stream. So yeah, subscribe if you enjoy it. And please leave me a like as well. And yeah, interact in the chat. I love talking to you all. It's great. Shaw to Gabriel -4 or Fernandez to Odegaard -4. Do it live from the wedding. Could you imagine? Unfortunately, the wedding's in the afternoon and the hospital appointment's in the morning. So, yeah, I'll do it live from the treatment room. No, it's nothing bad. Don't worry. No, thank you very much, James. Appreciate you joining the stream. And yeah, I hope Kevin De Bruyne goes massive too. I've just spent my free transfer on him. In terms of Stan's question there, I'm not... It's a really tough one. I think it depends on the rest of your team as well. Like, if you can start someone else over Shaw, I think I'd do that and just keep him. But if you've got to start Luke Shaw, I think maybe a -4 to Gabriel is worth it. Because I think those moves are really good because not only do they improve your team this week, they improve it for 25 as well. So it's probably worth the hit. But I think Shaw to Gabriel is the hit-worthy move of those two. I think I prefer that to Fernandez to Odegaard. Jake French, happening boss. Fernandez to KDB. Mitrovic to Nketiah or Martinelli to Saka. Yeah, my bench is terrible, isn't it? Fernandez to KDB for me. Because Martinelli, I wouldn't be selling him for Saka as a priority over those. I think Fernandez to KDB, purely because Fernandez blanked in 25. And that move not only makes your team better this week, it makes it better for the longer term as well. Mate, my bench is terrible. Absolutely terrible. But I just felt I can hang on for this period. And no, City don't double in 25, but the important thing is that they don't blank. In fact, what I think is a better move than all of them is Fernandez to Saka. If you did Bruno to Saka, I think that's better than all of those moves. Fernandez to Saka is the move you should make this game week. I think just by working out the moves you want to make there, you haven't got triple Arsenal if you're thinking of doing Mitrovic to Nketiah. So Fernandez to Saka, I would do that. And I also think Saka is the best captain in 25 at the moment as well. So yeah, Fernandez to Saka, Jake, would be mine. Genjai's done it. Mate, fair play. I rate that. James, I know they're cheap, but they're also crap, in my opinion. 3 options right now: Bruno to KDB / Mahrez, Martinelli to Saka. Option 3, both. Sounds like you're already tripled up on Arsenal. I think the ideal move is Bruno to Saka, just like I said for Jake. But I think Bruno to KDB is the move there. And I think Martinelli to Saka, I've been saying throughout the stream, is worth a hit, in my opinion, because Saka is just that much better. I wouldn't do Martinelli to Odegaard for a hit, but I think I'd do Martinelli to Saka for a hit. So I don't mind if you can do Bruno to KDB and then Martinelli to Saka for a hit is worth it. But obviously, Saka's more expensive than Martinelli, so you might not be able to afford that. Otherwise, I'd just do Bruno to KDB. Oh, mate, friend Jake, I've got the same problem. My defence is going to be a shambles in 25. I'm really going to have to think about how I do it. Yash, I really like triple captain HAALAND this week. The only thing is, with the 2 double game weeks announced in 25 and 27, there's a couple of differential opportunities for a triple captain. So you can either go Saka in 25. In fact, I can show you the fixtures quickly. Is that it? Yeah, so you can go Saka in 25 against Leicester and Everton. 2 good fixtures for a good player that's top of the league. I think that's a great shout for a triple captain. And then in 27, Tony for Brentford has got Everton and Southampton, which I really like and think's really fun. And someone like Matoma also has Leeds and Crystal Palace, which is a good shout to be a bit different. Obviously, HAALAND this week is very safe. I think he's a great triple captain, as I also think Tony in 27 is and Saka in 25 is. So pick your favourite out of those 3, in my opinion, and go with that. Yeah, Ben, I'm not making that move personally. But if your heart is set on doing that for a hit, do it. No worries, Yash. Hopefully that was helpful, mate. Even if it just reaffirms your thinking. Jake, I am not going anywhere near Liverpool defence in 25. I think the only people are buying all these like Wolves defenders and stuff, but I think with the injury status of these Liverpool centre backs, I think Joe Gomez could be an option. I said that with like a cringe, but yeah, Joe Gomez could be a shout, but I don't like TAA. Just no, because then you're going to want to sell him straight away, aren't you? You're not going to keep him beyond 25. I just don't think it's worth it. Oh, I don't like, honestly, mate. I know people are going mad over Tarkowski, but I don't like him either. Like, yeah, I'll take Patterson being back, but even then, if Patterson's back, I'm not sure I'd start him. I just don't think the fixtures are good enough, mate. I know I'm sounding really negative, but where's the double? It's 25, isn't it? Like, Everton have got Villa and Arsenal. Like, do you see a clean sheet at all in those two? I'm not sure I do. Like, they could keep one against Villa, but then they got Arsenal away. I just consider it like, if you're picking an Everton defender, that's a single game week, basically, isn't it? Because they're probably going to concede a few goals against Arsenal, and then you're just hoping they'll keep a clean sheet against Villa. So I just think it's overrated, personally. And mate, if you're backing Everton, then fair play to you, but I don't see it myself. I also think Arsenal are going to learn from their defeat to Everton. I just got to blow my nose again a second. God, I'm not even ill, right? I'm a swimmer. I swim like 4 or 5 times a week and do a little bit of competition. And a pool I swam in on Thursday was at like a private school in the evening, and it was absolutely like, they put so much chlorine in that pool, and it has completely ruined me. I'm not like, I don't even have a cold. It's just made me feel ill from all the chlorine. Yeah, let me know if you've got any more questions about your team. We've got 8 minutes to go until the deadline. James, I agree they've got good games, but where are they in the league? Like, sorry, that's just my opinion. Like, if you disagree, I'm happy to agree to disagree, but I'm just not sold on Wolves. I'm sorry. The clean sheet odds just aren't there for me either. Well, maybe they are and I'm wrong, but we'll consult Draft Hound because we can see that. I'd play play Nonto or Dallo. Bloody hell. Nonto. There's Wolves clean sheet odds for the next few game weeks. So only Bournemouth are they above 40%, and then the rest of them show there, if you can see that. Who am I eyeing up in defence? I think I'm going to play it by ear, really. There's no real targets. I'm quite nervous. I really like Chelsea defence. I think I'm going to buy a bit of Chelsea, more so than Kepa. It looks like the signing of Badia Shields really shored them up defensively. I think I'll be buying Reece James at some point. I think he's a really good option, and he's going to start playing some proper minutes. So I really like the Chelsea defence. I know they don't double. They're nothing exciting in terms of the fixtures, like doubling. But if you look at the Chelsea long-termers, in terms of fixtures, that's their run. And I think that's a fantastic fixture run. And they've kept 3 clean sheets in their last 3. So they got West Ham, Southampton, Tottenham. Difficult fixture, but still could foresee a clean sheet. Leeds, Leicester, Everton, Villa, Wolves, Brighton. It's such a good run. So I'm going to go for Chelsea. Mate, Kepa to Ederson. Kepa's the best keeper in the game, in my opinion. I'm just happy to say that. For the price you pay for him, the saves potential and clean sheets potential he's got, he's the best keeper in the game, in my opinion. Mark, Brian, Joy, Kepa, Ake, Trippier, Botman, Rashford, Bruno, Odegaard, Saka, Kane. Literally apart from Bruno, who you could probably sell for KDB, that's literally the wildcard team for the week. Thing is, hunting double game weeks is fine, but Ederson in particular, I just don't think is a very good keeper in FPL. He's always really expensive, and he never makes saves. It's not because he's a bad keeper. It's just because teams that play Man City don't have many shots. So with Ederson, it's a clean sheet or it's nothing. And Man City have not been keeping the clean sheet, so I just don't think he's a good option. I'd rather have Kepa just for the run of singles. Even though he doesn't double, he's just got a run of singles. I don't think Haaland's going to be pocketed personally. I just think he's too good not to learn from those occasions. Last decision, bench Mitoma or Mitrovic. I think that's a completely 50-50 call, mate. And if you have a gut feeling on one of them, go for that. But I did flip a coin for a guy that had the call earlier to make, and it landed on Mitoma to start. So start Mitoma, the coin said. But I think it's really 50-50. How many playing in 28 is good enough? I'd say 10. If you can field 10, that's all right. But ideally, you want 11, obviously. But I'd say any lower than 10, you'd probably want to take hits for. Still worried about Martinelli minutes, mate. So am I. But I don't think it justifies a hit over Odegaard because I don't think there's enough in it. I think Martinelli could return in low minutes quite easily. My rank, you can't see it on the screen. I'm 420k, mate, 420k. Triple captain Haaland, good luck, mate. I think that's a great call. Can't argue with that. I think he will actually outscore Rashford last week. I just don't think you can look past Haaland this week. I know. I think, James, the one sideways move that is worth it is Martinelli to Saka, because I think there's enough upside in Saka over Martinelli over the next few weeks to make it worthwhile. But I don't think Martinelli to Odegaard is worth it. But I would do Martinelli to Saka for a hit, I think. Just for the long-term view of fixtures, the fact you'd probably captain Saka in 25, all of that jazz. He's probably going to play more minutes as well, Saka, than Odegaard. I like that sideways move. But I don't like Martinelli to Odegaard. I don't think that's quite worth it. And I know the underlying numbers, they all favour Odegaard. They all say Odegaard, expected goals, expected assists, blah, blah, blah. They're all better for Odegaard. But my gut says Saka's better. And Saka takes the pens. Sorry, mate, I didn't see your team there. Ramsdale, Trippier, Shaw, Kanji, KDB, Martinelli, Saka, Almiron, Rashi, Haaland, Mitrovic. Yeah, I really like the team, mate. I'm a bit sceptical about Almiron, but I suppose with the Bournemouth fixture, it's a good game. It just depends who you have on the bench or who you could transfer him out for. Maybe you could do Almiron to Mitoma. It's probably not worth it, actually. But I really like your team, mate. I really like the team. But yeah, it's been lovely interacting with you. We've got a couple more minutes before the deadline. Let me know if you've got any more questions. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And yeah, please leave me a like if you enjoyed me. And subscribe to the channel for some FPL videos. I do 1 or 2 every week. And a deadline stream before the deadlines. Trippier to a Man City defender. Akanji or Ake. Probably in Sky or Akanji just because he has the pass minutes. He's only missed 1 Premier League game this whole season, whereas Ake's missed more. So I'd go for Akanji. And just know that whoever I say will end up being worse as well, because that's just sod's law, isn't it? But I think you've got to say Akanji because he's only missed 1 game. Deadline's coming up. Ooh. Should we have a look at the time? Oh, I've got to do an extension. No, I'm not in India. I was just trying to find a clock. Oh, well. Well, I've fumbled it, haven't I? Here we go. There's my team. I'll leave it up. Okay, it is. Yeah, go for it, mate. Don't do what I said. Probably got like how long? Oh, deadline's passed on my watch anyway. The watch has said the deadline has passed. What was your transfer, Ben? What did you do? You do Martinelli to Odegaard? You did, didn't you? You did it. You did the sideways job. My team's locked, and I'm all zen. Fair enough, Ben. Fair enough. And that's it. It's done. It's done. I'll stick around for another 15 minutes or so. I'm booked into the gym at 11:30, so I've really got nothing to do until then. So I'm happy to linger if anyone's got any more questions, anything else they want to talk about. Oh, the deadline's hit, so I'm here. Fair enough, mate. If that's sticking to your initial plan, like, just go for it. You've obviously thought about that for a while, so I can't. I'm not going to talk you out of what your original game plan was. But yeah, I'll stick around for another quarter of an hour or so, just to have a chat with you all. The thing is with going with your gut instinct as well. If going with your gut instinct doesn't actually work out, you won't be that upset. But if you go against your gut on the advice of a bloke on YouTube and it goes wrong, you'll be kicking yourself. So going with your gut most of the time is probably right. Even if it doesn't pay off in terms of points, you'll feel better for doing it, in my opinion. It was so funny. There was like a professional snooker player, wasn't there? Was it like Neil Robinson or Robertson or something like that? And he followed like FPL Focal's advice to triple captain Haaland in game week 20. And then he went off on him at Twitter because it didn't work out for him. I was just like, well, you made the decision yourself, mate. Like, it's a YouTuber has given you advice. He's not told you to do it. He's just suggested these are his expected points. It makes sense to do it. And I think it did. Like, game week 20, Haaland triple captain. You can't tell me that was a bad decision before the outcome. And yeah, he complained on Twitter because it didn't work out. But, like, how can you possibly say that, man? You got to think for yourself. That's how the game works. So, yeah. If your gut was correct last week, go with your gut again, mate. But yeah, if you're still in the stream and chatting away, let me know what you're up to this weekend. I'm going to go to the gym at 11:30 and get some lifting in. And then I'm a season ticket holder at Bristol City, so I'm going to go and watch them demolish Norwich City at home. We probably won't win because one of our best players is injured at the moment, so Norwich will probably do us. But I'm hyped for the game. It's the hope that matters, you know. Please beat Man City as well, mate. Honestly, like, I'm very much looking forward to that. I've got my ticket already. They went on sale Monday, 10 a.m. The last time, funny enough, you probably remember, it was quite a big win. But the last time a Premier League team came to Ashton Gate, I had a bit of a dilemma because I also support Man United. But let's not talk about that. Last time a Manchester team came to Ashton Gate, Bristol City won. They beat Man United. And then they drew. I know they didn't draw at the Etihad. They got beaten at the Etihad in the Carabao Cup. But we were 1-1 until like the 80th minute. And then Pep subbed on Aguero and De Bruyne and all that lot. And they destroyed us. But for a lot of the game, we were really hanging on to it. And we scored the first goal at the Etihad. Bobby Reed, who now plays for Fulham, scored a penno against Man City. It's very good. Back in United this week, fair enough. Yeah, I'm going to the game, mate. I'll be at the game. I'll say hello to Pookie. Give him some abuse. Oh. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. I think we'll give you a really good game. We gave you a good one at Carrow Road. I can't remember if we won or just got a draw out of you, but apparently we played you off the pitch at Carrow Road. We tend to somehow do that to the good teams, but then just never score the goals. We tend to like play the good teams off the park, but never score the goals. So I'm quietly confident. I prefer, God, Rodri or Saka in Sky is really tough. I think I prefer Rodri. Yeah, Rodri. It depends. The thing I would say is if there is I haven't got the fixtures in front of me, and I unfortunately don't have time to pull them up, but have a look at the games, and if there is a Saka captaincy game, a game that you would captain Saka on, go for Saka. If there isn't, go for Rodri. That's what I would say. I think that's the way to go. That's what I said about Bristol City a couple of months ago, mate. We were absolute dregs. Bottom of the, like, literally heading towards relegation. And we had the Christmas period. Literally sold our best player, who's Antoine Semenyo. Sold him to Antoine Semenyo. Sold Antoine Semenyo to Bournemouth. And now we started winning games. We're undefeated this year. So things can change very quickly, Ben. So don't lose faith. Unish, I have no idea. I've just supported Man United when I was really young, and then the first football game I ever went to, my dad took me to a Bristol City game. So I have an affinity to both teams, really. I chose Man United, and then my dad started taking me to Bristol City. So, yeah, that's just how it's happened, unfortunately. Interestingly, when City played Man United at Ashton Gate, I supported Bristol City. So, yeah. I think my affinity probably lies more with Bristol City than it does with United, but I can't avoid having a soft spot for both, I'm afraid. Next season, there's always hope, Ben. When do your parachute payments finish? Because that's the thing I think is really unfair in the Championship, can I just add. All the teams that have never been to the Prem are just at such a disadvantage to you guys with the parachute payments. I think it's really unfair, personally. I understand why they have them, but ultimately I think if you're shit enough to go down, you should be punished, you know? And yeah, the poor teams in the Championship, it's just almost impossible to get out of it unless you're of the lot that go do the yo-yo. But yeah, I'll stick around till 1:15 and I better get my gym kit on and have a stretch and then head to the gym. Is your coach David Wagner at the moment, Ben? I don't actually know who the Norwich City boss is. Yeah, he is. Yeah, David Wagner will do you good. That's why I said next season is your hope, mate. I think you'll be fine. As long as you get the parachutes in the summer, I think next season could be your year again, to be honest. Because you look at what's coming down from the Prem, well, actually, that's going to be, like, what could come down from the Prem is actually going to be really tough to beat, isn't it? Like, the Leeds team, if that goes down, that's far too good a team for the Championship. Same with Southampton. Like, I think that'll be the best quality teams that have ever been relegated, you know? So it's going to be tough next year, but I think that's the hope you've got to have. Yeah, who do we reckon's getting relegated from the Prem? I think it's going to be... I don't think Everton are going to now. I couldn't believe that no other teams went for Dyche before Everton did. I think it's going to be Bournemouth, Southampton, Leeds, personally. I think those three will go down. I don't think Leeds seem to have like a proper direction as to where they want to go. They're persisting on like this Red Bull football philosophy, and it ain't working, and it seems like they refuse to change it. I think they need to change it and just be safe. Just be safe and don't concede sloppy goals and just stay up. I think that's what you need to do at this stage, but they're not going to do that. So I think Everton will be fine, and then it's going to be Bournemouth, Southampton, Leeds. And whichever of those teams ended up with Sean Dyche was going to stay up, in my opinion. I just couldn't believe that Southampton didn't go for him. Leeds left it too long. In Bournemouth, they recruited Gary O'Neill when they could have just done Sean Dyche. Like, it was so obvious that Dyche was the one to go for. And he's like... Sean Dyche is a match made in heaven for Everton. That's what I was meant to say. No, I don't think United will batter Leeds. I think they'll win. The thing is with Leeds, I really like the McKennie and Adams midfield. I I just think that's a really good midfield pair. They've got so much energy and dynamism. They're just really good. Like, they played England off the park, did McKennie and Adams in England USA, didn't they? Like, Bellingham didn't have a sniff in that game because Adams and McKennie were all over the pitch. So yeah, it's just a thought on Leeds. I guess they've got a really nice midfield now, and if the two of them can stay fit, they'll definitely challenge to stay up. You're saying Dyche is a Liverpool fan, mate? I didn't know that, to be fair. But yeah, Sean Dyche is a Liverpool fan. I did not know that, so that's quite interesting. Yeah. I don't. When do all the when do the teams like come back and the game doesn't refresh? I don't know how long it takes. It's just interesting to see who in your mini leagues has been picked, isn't it? So I went to a surprise birthday party last night. It was the first one I'd ever been to, and the bloke was just saying his thanks for all coming and stuff. So I was just texting him then. Yeah, it was quite funny. I'd never done a surprise party before, and I'm a bloke, so this is the way I think. But if I rock up to a venue and because I know all the cars like my mates drive, and I was worried that when I showed up that he just recognised like all our cars, so we all like hid our cars behind some behind some bins. We like pushed some bins in front of our cars so they couldn't the bloke couldn't see our cars, and we got away with it. To be fair, he didn't clock that we were there, and it was a complete surprise. Of course, the thing that makes it tougher than ever as well is just the player base continually growing. Like last year there was 9 million, this year there's 11. It's going to go up and up and up every season, and now like the mainstream media are pushing fantasy football, like fantasy Premier League as well now, mate. So it's only going to get more competitive. Tools or no tools, I don't think the tools make a difference because everyone's using them anyway. So like everyone's got the same competitive edge. But the real thing that makes it harder is the number of players every year, in my opinion. Because all the tools, like, you just need to watch me or like Focal or anyone on YouTube to find out what the expected points are. You don't really need to, just watch our videos and that will give you all the info. But everyone has that. So I don't think it increases the competitiveness if everyone has the tools, It's definitely the player base that does. Well, I appreciate that, Ben. I would say my favourite I really like Raptor. He thinks in a very similar way than I do. Focal's very good. His videos, they're all good, mate. I can't, yeah. They're all good. What I've tried to do with this channel, you can't, there's a level of advice you can give, and above that, it's there's only so much you can do, right? There's only so much data you can show people, and all I try and do with this channel is stay on that level, really. That's why I'm really, really grateful for my little partnership with Drafthound, because I think they've got a lot of good stuff, and I really enjoy using their stuff on my channel. And I also like Let's Talk FPL as well. The big man himself, big sub base himself. Really, really like him as well. They're all really good. And it's just my preference. I prefer, in terms of FPL, I prefer the the shorter form content as well. Lots of pods out there. But yeah. What can you do about it, Ben? I mean, it's just really boring, isn't it? Like, I play FPL for fun and to think my own way. So that's the way I play it. But if there are managers that just copy their teams, that's their call. It's really boring. But you can't stop them, can you? You just got to hope they copy the ones that aren't doing very well. I think Raptors had a fantastic season, hasn't he? So if you copied him, you'd be flying. Whereas if you copied Lex Talk FPL, I think he's in a similar position to me, isn't he? But whatever. It just is what it is. It's just really boring. Like, I wouldn't insult anyone for doing it. It's just boring. But yeah, I don't know if anyone copies me. I'd be flattered if someone actually wanted to copy my team. That'd be funny, because it's crap, so I wouldn't, I wouldn't copy it. But yeah, if someone wants to buy themselves Cancelo and Patterson to copy my team, they're more than welcome to. Ben, I'm a freestyler and a backstroker, and I'm definitely a sprinter. So my favourite event is the 100 freestyle. That's my favourite, because it requires more than just outright sprint. You've got to save yourself a bit for the end. In fact, I'll show you why I like the 100 freestyle a second. I can't play the video on stream, so I won't. But what I'll do is I'll send you a link to 4x100 medley. What I'll do is I'll send you a link to literally the most exciting swimming race in the world. Yeah, there you go. Watch that. It's got my favourite swimmer in it, a chap named Kyle Chalmers, who is just it's playing a Sainsbury's ad. Who is just the best 100 freestyler in the world, and he's a bit of a legend. And yeah, it's such an exciting race. I think after about 6 minutes, the freestyle leg kicks in, and he just goes absolutely insane. Swims the fastest time in history. Yeah, you'll see what happens. It's a really exciting race. So yeah, the 100 freestyle for me is my favourite. I really like it. And I don't know how much you know about swimming, but if you do a 50-metre freestyle, you basically can't breathe for the whole race. You've just got to have your head down for the full length of the race. So I take maybe one breath for the whole race. Whereas the 100 freestyle, you need more air, so I can breathe every other stroke. So I do one stroke and then breathe. I much prefer doing that because you don't feel like complete shit when you finish. You've actually got some air in your body. But yeah, the 50 is just, well, it's just a balls out sprint, isn't it? And that's also quite exciting. Do you have a particular stroke, Ben? Are you much of a swimmer? I don't know. I guess you asked that question because you were intrigued. But yeah, 100 freestyle is my event. I'll give it another couple of minutes till 20 past, and I'll drop off because I'm going to get ready and go to the gym, do some weights and some explosive movements for my swimming. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, everyone on the stream. I see we've got a few dropping off now. Yeah, it's just been really nice to share it with you. Thank you all for watching, taking part in the chat. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you have too. Yeah, I always like doing a deadline stream. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Yeah, there's lots of regular watchers. I appreciate you all if you watch this regularly. It's great to share. Well, yesterday it was Friday night last week, wasn't it? But it's great to share me Friday nights and Saturday mornings with you. And Ben, going with your gut, like I said, you'd be less upset if it goes wrong than copying an FPL YouTuber and going against it. So, absolutely. Right, I think I'm going to leave it there, everyone. I'll catch you in the videos I make in the week and the deadline stream next Saturday. I think it's Saturday, isn't it? See you later. I'm going to wave for a few seconds awkwardly.